The story begins with a completely destroyed city. A young girl complains that she's tired and asks Jung Minjin how much farther they have to walk. Still complaining, she says she's thirsty, but the boy simply ignores her. The young man responds seriously that he's already told her several times they need to ration their water, and that if she's really that thirsty, she should go find water on her own. The girl is stunned by what he says. Upon hearing that, she gets angry and asks if the MC has lost his mind. Serious, Minjin asks if she still hasn't understood the situation they're in and reminds her he's not her servant. For a moment, the girl is speechless, but she quickly yells that he's a loser and getting way too bold. She continues, saying the MC is nothing but a broke loser. Minjin remains neutral and says that money doesn't matter in this world, so now she's just as much a loser as he is, and yet all she knows how to do is scream, making her just as useless as him right now. That makes him tell her to get lost, but the girl is confused by what he said. As she watches him walk away, Han Yina wonders why he's acting like that, and that it's the first time she's ever seen him this way. Even so, her pride takes over, and with a laugh she tells him to get lost. Mocking him, she says it's unbelievable and asks if he's really walking away without looking back, calling him a loser and saying he might as well disappear. She gets angry, saying she should have slapped the back of his head before they split up, and starts cursing him. Han Yina says it's unbelievable and asks who he thinks he is, but adds it doesn't matter since he's pathetic and will probably end up dead. The young girl stops walking, curious about what she sees ahead. The street is filled with rubble, crushed cars, and a sign warning not to enter. She asks if the way is blocked. Then she looks to the right, curious about something she just noticed. Han Yina looks at one of the windows of a nearby apartment. She grows tense, asking what that was, and if someone is there, she feels like she's being watched. The girl looks at the blocked path again and says there's a strange smell there. Han Yina peers further into the barricade, past the debris. She tenses up, clearly scared. She spots one body walking and another lying on the ground. Han Yina starts sweating cold. It's as if she can see two zombies approaching, catching her by surprise. This gives her a terrible feeling about what's coming. Our hero continues walking alone, until someone calls out to go together. That makes Jung Minjin turn around, confused by what's happening, while Han Yina asks him to take her with him. He asks if she's still ordering him around and reminds her she told him to get lost. She says she takes back everything she said and asks if they don't need each other, at least until they reach Gangnam. Our hero watches her in silence for a few seconds. Then he says that first, she needs to apologize for what she did. The girl looks confused by that. Jung Minjin asks if she didn't call him a nobody and a loser, and says that if she wants to survive, then she also needs to be a nobody and stay hidden. Our hero tells her to do all that, and then he'll let her come along. The girl still doesn't say anything, but she starts trembling and crying. Jung Minjin knows that she, Han Yina, is a rich girl who always had everything, someone who's never apologized to anyone in her life, and that he, a lonely weirdo whose life was rock bottom, ended up in this mess after a strange virus struck Earth. Just like in the movies, Seoul is experiencing a strange zombie apocalypse, and the two of them, with completely clashing personalities, got caught in it together, in a chaos where any disaster is imaginable. Suddenly, both of them look behind Han Yina, startled. Three zombies run toward the pair. Jung Minjin grabs the young girl's wrist and starts running while pulling her along, knowing this is just a terrible nightmare, but they must somehow survive. In a city, there are several buildings close to each other. In one of them, sunlight shines into a room through 4 small windows. A game is playing on the screen of a computer sitting on a messy desk with food on it. The place is a bit small, yet a young man is sleeping in his bed. At that moment, his phone alarm goes off. It wakes the young man, who realizes he passed out again while gaming. He sits up in bed, grabs his phone, and notices it's time to go to school again, but he wishes he could just quit. The boy leaves his room and notices something on the fridge. A note from his mother says she went to work and tells him to eat well and go to school. Our hero looks at the note silently, but soon he's out of the house already dressed for school. Jung Minjin looks up at a tall building, taller than the others in the area. He knows the kids living there can't imagine a life like his. Our hero keeps walking down the narrow streets until he finally arrives at his school. But in the hallways of the institution, Jung Minjin curses after being shoved to the ground by someone. A boy sarcastically asks if he's okay and says he meant to go easy on him, while another jokes about whether he might have gotten seriously hurt, but says our hero can take it. The aggressive teen asks what Jung Minjin just said, if he was swearing, and if he heard that right. Park Seong-bin says our hero is trash and asks if it's because lately he's been letting things slide, adding that it seems like he's forgetting who he is. Someone appears and complains that the hallway is always too noisy, which surprises him. Han Yina asks if he's a child and tells Park Seong-bin to stop doing that kind of thing to losers. He says he didn't realize she was there. She says that losers and weirdos like him who bully kids are disgusting, and tells him to stop polluting the school's atmosphere with his violence. Park Sin-ongbin asks what she's talking about, saying they were just playing with their class mascot. She tells them if they want to play, do it outside because they're in the way. The boy says she's the one Jung Minjin hates the most. She replies that unlike him, she simply ignores him completely, but the boy says that's the same thing. Our hero knows Han Yina is just like Park Seongbin, someone in his class whom he's known since middle school. Park Sin-ongbin says he's going to hang out with the older guys and asks if she wants to come. She says she'll never again go to that cramped dump that used to be our hero's apartment. Jung Minjin knows Han Yina lives in a luxury apartment complex visible from his house. Her parents work at a hospital, and one of them is the director. She's active on social media, the center of attention, a VIP among VIPs. On top of that, Han Yina has the best grades, and people are even saying she's preparing to study abroad next year in the United States. She seems like the perfect person with no flaws, but the one issue is that she completely despises poor losers like him. The girl notices him and, disgusted, asks our hero what he's staring at. This makes another girl laugh. Jung Minjin wonders when it all began. In their second year of middle school, they were in the same class, and he worked up the courage to talk to her. That day, our hero nervously asked if she lived in that direction too. Han Yina responded in a way that caught him completely off guard. She told him he stinks and to stop following her, and that if they live in the same direction, then he should keep his distance or take another route. It was that day Jung Minjin finally understood that she despised him, especially when Yina said she really didn't want to talk to people like him. Our hero realizes he smells like poverty, and that she always smelled nice, which makes him wonder if that's what rich people smell like. Normally, if someone hated him that much, he wouldn't feel so hurt. But in the classroom, Yina complains about having to sit near him even at school, and asks if someone wants to switch seats. And in every class, she constantly ridicules and belittles him, yet strangely, he can't understand his feelings for her. This makes him wonder if he's still in love with Han Yina, and if this is what it means to be a loser. He knows that having feelings for a girl who always mocked him and treated him like trash is truly pathetic, but now, being physically run over by Park Seongbin and emotionally crushed by Han Yina makes every miserable day up to now stack on top of each other. This made our hero start feeling ashamed and humiliated by his own life. At school, but outside the building, three boys are chatting. The chubby one asks if his friend knows about the second semester list. The other says he decided to quit anime and wanted to go to the Rage D event, and that if it weren't for school, he would have gone to the event that morning. His friend questions why they'd even hold an offline event for a game on a weekday. The chubby one says he's not interested in game events and would rather go to the Lumina concert. Oh Byonjin asks if he bought tickets for the concert this month. Our hero knows those two, Sunho and Byonjin, are from different classes than his, but they're the only friends he has, and they were lucky not to be dragged into all of this. One of them asks if Jung Minjin wants to go to the concert too, but Minjin keeps thinking how lucky they are, guys who were just born lucky, and how he seems to be the only one with a truly cursed life. Meanwhile, the boy keeps calling his name. Oh Byonjin shouts, grabbing our hero's attention and startling him. He asks if Minjin wants to go to the concert too, since they're going to try and get tickets to go see Stan Jin Nim, a beautiful idol. Our hero chuckles a little and tells him to forget it. From now on, he doesn't care about idols anymore. The chubby one says that's a lie and asks how he dares to abandon her, saying he's gone mad. But Minjin says he's leaving. Oh Byonjin is surprised and says our hero was excited about the idol until recently, and asks if today he doesn't seem more lethargic than usual. Sunho gets curious. He asks if it's because he got rejected. Byonjin asks if that's really enough to make him depressed, and if such a loser even exists. The two joking about the idol. In second year classroom 3, our hero is sitting in the classroom, wishing for the classes to end quickly, while a group talks about a defector who stared him down again. Another boy asks if it was Kang Hakyul. Our hero grows curious about that. Seongbin says the guy is smaller than him and asks if he wouldn't beat him up. One of the boys says he does MMA and would obviously win. Park says the guy fled from North Korea. Another boy heard he was still a child, but must have escaped after some trouble, and the third one tells them to stop. The trio notices a young man entering the classroom. Kang Hakyul questions Seongbin about what he just said. Park stares at him and, after insulting him, asks if he's got a problem. The North Korean tells him to watch his mouth, but Seongbin grabs the guy by the collar while cursing at him. Even while being grabbed, the boy doesn't move, and he looks straight at his opponent without showing a hint of fear in his eyes. Park Seongbin's friends try to break up the fight, telling him to calm down and apologizing to Kang Hakyul. But the young man whispers in the North Korean's ear that if he doesn't want to lose his life after coming to South Korea, he better lower his head. After that, the trio backs off and leaves the classroom. Our hero watches all of this and feels tense about what just happened. To him, this is a terrible class and a terrible school. After school ends, our hero walks through the streets, determined that tomorrow he's going to quit that horrible school, and that this will be the shortcut for finally changing his life. He's firm in the decision he made, and the next day he doesn't go to school. At that moment, someone calls out to him, catching him off guard. He looks and sees it's the trio of bullies from school hanging around. Park Shin-bin says the timing is perfect, that he's in need of cigarettes, and asks our hero to help him out. He says Jong Minjin just needs to ask the grandma over there so he can buy them from the convenience store. Our hero gets irritated and curses him in his thoughts, especially since he's about to quit school, and that he's never going to see that guy again. He decides that just once, he should tell him off properly. But Jong Minjin only imagines it and fails to act. Park Shin-bin finds it odd and tells him to get back there right now, asking if he's ignoring him. One of his friends laughs and asks if our hero's gone insane and if he's really just ignoring him, while another calls him crazy, which makes the bully angry. At a construction site in the city, our hero lies on the ground, injured, while Park Shin-bin complains and asks why he's disobeying him today. With a brick in his hand, the young man calls our hero a poor beggar and asks if he should just take his life right then and there. He says Jong Minjin got too comfortable because he hadn't been beaten since 9th grade. The guy's two friends say they don't know anything and that they tried to stop him. Our hero asks them to take his life, and that leaves Park Shin-bin confused. Jong Minjin repeats that they should just kill him because he doesn't want to live anymore. One of the boys says he's starting to feel bad for our hero now and suggests they leave. Park Shin-bin gets pissed and curses Jong Minjin while kicking him hard, then warns him to listen carefully, because if Jong Minjin writes his name in a goodbye note, he better be ready for the consequences. The guy threatens that after Jong Minjin is gone, he'll find his lonely mother and end her life too. That makes Park Shin-bin's friends ask if that wasn't going too far, but he tells both of them to shut up and leave the place. Our hero remains on the ground, injured, at the construction site. Some time later in the poorest part of the city, Jong Minjin, head low, slowly walks up a staircase between the apartments on the street. At that moment, he wishes the world would just end tomorrow. Slowly, our hero keeps moving forward, until he stops, looks up, and wonders if maybe it would be better to just die. Jong Minjin stares at the large and luxurious apartment complex and questions whether if he jumped from that tall place, everything would just end. Our hero changes direction and begins approaching the luxury apartments, thinking that nothing matters anymore and there's no reason for him to keep living this miserable life. Just then, someone calls out to Jong Minjin. He turns and sees Han Yina, who asks what he's doing there. She asks if his house isn't over there, what he's doing in their apartment complex, and if he snuck in. Han Yina says he doesn't look like he came to deliver anything and asks if he's there to steal something. That makes our hero realize she's right. Someone like him shouldn't go to a place where rich people like her live, and he wonders if he should just tell her why he's there. The girl asks what's up with his face, and asks if someone beat him up, but Jong Minjin says nothing. Han Yina says he's frustrating, and that if they did that to him, he should have fought back, and if he suffered so much, at least he should have hit back even if it meant getting beat up again. She says seeing young people like him act so pathetic, he's not good at anything, and asks if he should at least have the guts to fight, and if living like that isn't just miserable. That makes our hero start walking away, leaving the girl confused, asking if he's really just going like that. Ignoring her completely, she calls out to him again and asks if he's being serious, right when someone's talking to him. Han Yina sighs and says Jong Minjin is truly pathetic and pathetically weak. Our hero decides that tomorrow he needs to tell Park Shin-bin exactly what he thinks. After some time walking the streets of the poor neighborhood, Jong Minjin finally arrives home and enters his room. He turns on his computer and decides he's just going to game for the rest of the day. Jong Minjin finds it ridiculous that he gave up on dying just because of Han Yina, but he believes what she said was true. Still, in the end, our hero lets it go since he's decided to quit school and from now on probably won't need to see Park Shin-bin or Han Yina ever again. Jong Minjin decides that starting tomorrow, he'll need to help his mother with work. His friends see him online and invite him to play, and he replies that he just logged in. The hours pass quickly while our hero enjoys himself on the computer. Night falls and the lights in his room are on. Outside, someone yawns and another person seems surprised. Jong Minjin keeps playing at a fast pace. He tells his friends there are still 3 zombies up ahead and that he's already taken care of them. At that moment, one of his friends says he has to leave because something came up, but our hero asks if it's not too early and tells him to at least finish the current round. However, another friend also says he has to go, which surprises him and makes him ask why Byonjin too. Jong Minjin looks at the wall clock to check the time, and upon seeing that it's 10 at night, realizes it's already late. One of the guys asks if they saw the news just now, saying it's total chaos. Our hero asks what he's talking about. A loud noise occurs, catching Jung Minjin's attention. He takes off his headphones and asks, confused, what that was. Our hero steps out of his room and looks down the hallway of the small apartment. He approaches the door, trying to understand what's going on, and asks if someone is on the other side. Someone seems to be knocking or forcing the door. Jung Minjin is confused and wonders what that was, thinking it sounded creepy. He looks through the peephole to check outside. A man appears dizzy and asks for help. Our hero knows that's the neighbor from the floor above, who keeps asking, in a slow and strange voice, for him to open the door. Jung Minjin finds it odd and wonders if another package was delivered upstairs by mistake. But without him knowing, the outside is strange and the staircase is dark and dirty, showing the trail the neighbor took, still injured. Our hero gets tense and thinks the man must have been drinking again. Jung Minjin puts his hand on the door handle and slowly opens it to greet the neighbor. Our hero looks at the man, still tense with the situation. He notices something that leaves him shocked and confused. The man is injured in the torso and stained with blood from his wounds, stumbling around. Jung Minjin sees the neighbor's terrible wound. With a trembling voice, he asks if the man is okay and if he should call an ambulance. But at that moment, the man lets out a growl-like scream of rage, surprising our hero, and suddenly lunges forward in an attack on Jung Minjin. The man's eyes are red, and he desperately tries to bite our hero, who manages to hold him back with his arm, pushing him by the jaw. Jung Minjin tries calling to the neighbor, hoping he'll snap out of it, asking why he's acting like this out of nowhere. Without getting a response, our hero curses, unable to believe what's happening. And without thinking twice, he delivers a strong kick to the man's stomach, pushing him back quickly. But that not only knocks him away, it also brings him down to the ground. Quickly, our hero shuts the door again. The man keeps screaming outside while Jung Minjin tries to catch his breath and process what just happened. His legs won't stop trembling from the shock. He asks what the hell just happened and says that man's face looked completely wrong. Jung Minjin quickly rushes to his room and grabs his phone, deciding he has to call the police and report what happened. He dials, but something feels off, and he's confused by it. Our hero finds that the line is dead and doesn't understand why this is happening. On his phone, there are multiple alerts about strange people attacking others, which shocks him. He hears noises coming from the street and looks through the small apartment window. When he looks outside to see what's going on, a woman screams in fear. People are being brutally attacked by others who are visibly injured. Someone screams for help while being chased. Minjin wonders what's happening. He spots the upstairs neighbor outside chasing a girl. Our hero quickly closes the window and, in desperation, wonders if his mother is okay. He tries calling her, knowing that around this time she'd usually be on her way home. Jung Minjin mentally begs for her to answer, but the call doesn't go through, which makes him tense and worried, realizing her phone might also be out of service. Worried, our hero, who had his lights on earlier, quickly turns them off and hides under the sheets and behind his closed bedroom door. Jung Minjin trembles in fear over what's happening outside. He looks at his phone again, still shaking. Seeing on the screen that the internet and everything else has been down for a while, Jung Minjin picks up the TV remote. He turns on the television but keeps the volume low so no one can hear from outside. The anchor says, "Urgent, there are reports of mass murders happening across the country. The government believes it's a terrorist attack and is investigating the cause, but nothing is confirmed yet. I repeat, the situation is extremely serious," says the anchor. Jung Minjin is shocked and wonders if this is really happening and what exactly is going on. The anchor advises people to stay home, lock doors and windows, and minimize contact. The anchor then shows a recent attack happening right now in the Busan area, where a man is being assaulted by another in the middle of a crowd. Our hero is stunned to see that the attack is being carried out through brutal bites. The reporter says these attacks are also happening in the countryside and that the police and military are working, but Minjin knows this isn't some act of terrorism or rebellion. In disbelief, he hopes and pleads for it not to be a zombie apocalypse or something similar. Our hero wonders if he's dreaming. How did things spiral out of control so fast across the country in a single day? Why is this happening and what caused it? He realizes he can't just sit there and remembers it seems the neighbor from the floor above left recently. Jung Minjin looks through the peephole to see if anyone is on the stairs or in the building and decides he should first lock the entrance. Seeing that everything is quiet and empty outside the door, he's certain he's alone there. Our hero opens his door again and looks out at the dark, grimy stairwell. He climbs the stairs, eyeing the next flight nervously, wondering if someone else might be hiding on them. Upon reaching the building's main entrance, Jung Minjin opens the door slowly. He spots a zombie wandering nearby and thinks he must move slowly and carefully. The monster turns around as if it sensed something, but seeing nothing there, it continues walking in another direction. Our hero slowly locks the double doors from the inside. Then he lets out a sigh of relief for not being seen or attracting that zombie. Only then does he wonder if the people upstairs are okay. and notes how eerily quiet everything is. But Jung Minjin decides to return home and wait until morning, thinking the police or someone will come to rescue them. Our hero continues watching the news in his dark room to stay updated on the events. The anchor says, "Once again, we bring you another terrible update, the current situation." But before he can continue, the TV news cuts off and the screen goes blank, leaving our hero stunned. The surprise turns to tension when he realizes that even the broadcast signal has now disappeared. The only light in the room is coming from the television set. Jung Minjin lies in bed, wrapped in sheets, trying to sleep. But he can't fall asleep, and more than that, he feels a deep internal conflict. Knowing that just yesterday he was about to end his own life because he felt he was living in hell, he even wished for the end of the world, and now it's actually happening. And here he is, desperately trying to survive. Yet, truthfully, not much has changed. His life was hell before, and it still is now. The night passes in the city, and the sun begins to rise, lighting up the dark streets now in chaos. In the street, an ambulance is flipped over and a small truck lies abandoned. A few zombies wander back and forth, and there are 2 bodies on the ground. The door to our hero's building opens slowly. Afraid, he looks outside and sees that hellish scene. Zombies walking the streets, while people lie lifeless on the ground. Jung Minjin feels like the air outside is dangerous, polluted with the stench of the dead, clinging to the hands and teeth of the zombies, and he can sense it just from the atmosphere. That makes Jung Minjin shut the doors of the building once again. He locks them from the inside slowly to avoid making noise, knowing that going outside now would be an incredibly stupid move. With everything off, the hallway door leading to Jung Minjin's apartment now looks like the entrance to an abandoned, eerie place, but without the marks from the first zombie. He calmly checks the food supplies in his home, seeing packages of instant noodles. There's ramen, noodle cups, and enough instant rice for 2 weeks. There are 3 bottles of water. He decides to collect as much water as possible from the taps, and the gas is still working. And if he's relying only on the emergency food, Minjin believes he could survive there for about a month, and by then someone will probably rescue him. Our hero hopes his mother is safe and complains that he can't contact the police or anyone since the phone lines have stopped working. He looks up, remembering there are 5 apartments there, minus the vacant one, and that the neighbor was a zombie. He wonders how the elderly couple and the young lady living there are doing. At that moment, Jung Minjin remembers there's a guy from school who lives in the rooftop room. Our hero wonders if he's still there, recalling how he always brings his girlfriend over every Tuesday. Jung Minjin knows that yesterday was Tuesday and thinks maybe the guy is still up on the rooftop. Slowly, our hero climbs the building's inner staircase. He doesn't feel any movement coming from the other floors, so he peeks through the peephole of one of the apartments, knowing his last hope would be the guy who lives on the rooftop. Jung Minjin looks upward and wonders if he also turned into one of those things, like that other guy. He keeps going up the stairs and is surprised by what he sees ahead. Our hero notices the rooftop door is open and wonders if it had been like that this whole time. Jung Minjin passes through the door, seeing the place apparently empty and brightly lit by the sun. He considers calling out to the guide, but fearing the worst, decides it's better not to. Our hero notices the apartment door is open, held ajar by some slippers, and gets curious, wondering if they were left that way too. Cautiously, he looks into the dark interior. He can see the room a bit messy and showing signs of a struggle. That makes Jung Minjin think there's no one there. However, something inside catches his attention. He notices the stains on the floor indicating someone was hurt. The second day of the disaster was the day everything changed drastically in his life. Right then, from the bathroom, the young man, now a zombie, moves, leaving his girlfriend's body on the floor. Seeing the red stains on the ground, Jung Minjin wonders if they came from inside. He can hear someone in the apartment. Trembling, our hero believes he's screwed. He turns and begins to quietly back out of the place, knowing he needs to get away slowly. But his elbow hits a flower pot beside him, which falls and crashes to the ground, making a loud noise in what had been total silence. That scares Jung Minjin, who screams, asking what that was. The zombie inside growls, terrifying our hero. In panic, he starts running to escape, but Jung Minjin trips over his own leg and crashes to the floor, wincing in pain from the fall. As he gets up, our hero freezes at the sight of the zombie, filthy with the girl's blood, coming out through the door. Already on his feet, Jung Minjin finds himself being charged by the undead creature running at him. Reacting instinctively, our hero ducks to dodge the attack. The zombie slams into the rooftop railing. At that moment, Jung Minjin stands up, still tense, and throws the undead off the building. The creature begins falling after being, accidentally, pushed from the rooftop. Our hero is stunned by what just happened and what he just did, until the sound of the zombie's body hitting the ground echoes through the area. Jung Minjin collapses to the floor in shock, saying the monster fell from up there. In a rush, he quickly closes the rooftop door. Panting, our hero hurries back down the building's staircase. He quickly enters his own room and drops to the floor of the safe space, trying to catch his breath. Even as he tries to breathe and calm down, Jung Minjin is trembling in fear over what just happened. He wonders if the guy who lived on the rooftop is dead now. Our hero is terrified, thinking he may have executed a person and questions whether he just ended that boy's life. But still in shock, he tells himself that's not what happened, and it wasn't his fault, since the guy attacked him first. The hours pass slowly, and the once bright room is now dark. Morning begins to fade into afternoon. Jung Minjin sits in silence, deep in thought, inside his room near the door. And that day, he spent the entire time haunted by guilt. Our hero wonders if he really threw that guy off the rooftop to his end. After thinking about it a lot, Jung Minjin gets up. He slowly opens the building's double doors and looks out to the street where he sees the boy, now a zombie, walking slowly. His whole body broken and deformed from the fall, it continues to move. Suddenly, the zombie turns to look at our hero, who stares directly at it without speaking or reacting. Shocked by the fact that the monster is still standing, our hero can only watch as the guy from the rooftop stands upright and the zombie growls and starts approaching Jung Minjin, who, at that moment, understands that those things are no longer human. Our hero apologizes to the guy as he retreats back into the building. Realizing they really are like zombies, the creature keeps growling as the double doors are shut. The zombie approaches the doors, still growling, and from that day on, strangely, Jung Minjin began to lose his fear of the infected. The next day, the third day since the disaster began, our hero finishes eating his morning meal. He knows he can still enjoy these things while the gas is running, and he wonders when it will be cut off. Jung Minjin questions whether it's really okay to just stay there waiting for someone to rescue him, knowing he'll eventually run out of food. He notices that no one decides that one young man has shown up, which makes him think there may not be any more infected. He wonders if he should go back up there to try asking for help. Our hero spends some time deep in thought, and decides that tomorrow he'll have to go up there himself to check. Maybe this calm is because he already decided to die a few days ago. Jung Minjin remembers his 2 encounters with the zombies and thinks it might be because of what he went through yesterday and the day before, but he really doesn't know why. He doesn't find those zombies frightening anymore. His thoughts are interrupted by a buzzing sound. His cell phone starts ringing again, and the screen shows that it's his mom calling. He's surprised and asks if it's really her. Jung Minjin quickly answers the call and, worried, asks if it's his mom. She asks if he's okay and where he is. Our hero says he's hiding at home now and asks where she is. His mom says she met up with the military during the evacuation and is safe and sound now. She says she'll try to send a rescue team to him no matter what happens, and that right now Seoul is, but before she can finish, the signal gets bad. The interference only lets her say something about the neighborhood, but in the end, the call drops and Jung Minjin yells, calling out to her. He realizes the call got cut again and curses about it, but feels relieved to know his mother is safe and alive somewhere. The phone vibrates again, and our hero wonders why he's suddenly receiving all these messages. He sees that his 2 friends, Sunho and Byongjin, are safe too, and notices that one of them is making jokes even in the middle of all the chaos, but both are clearly worried about him. Jung Minjin knows the 2 of them live very close to each other and probably can help one another, and that in this situation only those 2 and his mother have contacted him. This makes him fall into thought again for a while, until he remembers Han Yena. Our hero knows that, out of everyone, she's the one who lives closest to him, and you remember she was there last year. A guy says she saw him on social media and asked to meet him. Another asks if that's true. Everyone laughs, doubting she'll show up since she's so picky and arrogant. Songbin says he gave her the address and told her to come straight there. One of the guys says that if she shows up, it's because she likes him, and another gets excited talking about her pretty pictures. Park tells Changmin that if she shows up, this is his big chance, and asks if he's going to try. The guy asks if he's trying to sell her off and says he doesn't believe she'll fall for that. He says if he flirts with Han Yena and his girlfriend finds out, he's screwed, but Songbin replies that it's not his problem. However, he then notices that the girl responded. She said she just arrived there. Changmin is in disbelief and asks if she really did arrive, and one guy says he's going to open the door, which surprises our hero. The girl appears at the doorway of Jung Minjin's room. She looks around in disbelief at the mess and smoke in the room full of boys. Park Sinongbin tells her to come in and asks if our hero's room isn't a cool place. Laughing, he introduces Changmin, saying that he's the guy he told her about, and asks if they weren't already chatting on social media. Han Yena says she's leaving. Sinongbin doesn't understand and asks where she's going after just getting there. Our hero is in disbelief. Not only were the boys crashing in to party, she keeps complaining non-stop that the place is disgusting and asks why no one mentioned it was Minjin's house, saying it's irritating. That reaction from her made him feel even more miserable. He remembers all of that while using the bathroom and still wonders if she's okay. And if the symptoms are caused by a virus like the zombies, then her father must know a solution. Yet he questions why he's even worrying about her now. Since her family is rich, she was probably already evacuated to a safe place. At that moment, someone calls out to Jung Ninjin, and it surprises him. Our hero looks at the bathroom door, not understanding what's going on, and surprised, he wonders if someone just called him from outside or if it was just his imagination. The person, sounding scared, asks if he's in there, and if he is, pleads with him to open the door, clearly urgent. This leaves Jung Ninjin stunned upon hearing that voice. Still in shock, he asks if it's Han Yin out there. The girl's voice comes from outside the window, asking if our hero is inside. She keeps asking if he's in there and says she thinks she just heard his voice. At that moment, the girl hears a growl and turns around, frightened, to see what it is. A zombie starts running toward her, while others slowly approach to catch up. They begin closing in, some quickly, others slowly. Han Yina starts pounding on Jung Ninjin's window, calling out to him in fear and urgency. She screams for him to open the door, saying that if he's in there, he needs to say something. At that moment, our hero opens the building's door, and upon seeing her there, he shouts for her to get inside right now. After Han Yina enters, Jung Ninjin locks the double doors. The zombies hurl themselves at the building door, while others continue to approach. The girl is out of breath after running and getting that scare. She sits on the floor of our hero's room, catching her breath. Jung Ninjin notices she's barefoot and slowly approaches her, asking if she's okay and why she came all the way there. Han Yina grabs his shirt, catching him off guard, and slams him against the wall, knocking him to the floor, which startles him. But he notices the girl has started crying. Hearing her cry leaves our hero surprised, and he asks what happened to her. Han Yina keeps crying on our hero's shoulder. He asks again if she's okay, but then she realizes what she's doing and lets go of him. She thanks our hero for opening the door and letting her in, and says that if it weren't for him, she would have lost her life. But Jung Ninjin blushes seeing her that close. Our hero laughs awkwardly, saying she doesn't need to thank him and that at least she's safe now. Han Yina looks around the room. Seeing the cardboard boxes covering the windows, she asks if he's alone there. Minjin says his mom left for work and didn't come back, but luckily she managed to call, saying she's safe and that the military was evacuating people. Han Yina keeps staring at the wall and says she's relieved. Our hero asks about her parents, and she says her dad is safe at work and mentions her mom in an empty tone. The girl says she's sure they're okay and asks if he has water and if she can drink some and maybe charge her phone if there's power. Our hero says yes. Time passes slowly in the small room with mold on the ceiling. Han Yina has already drunk several bottles of water, and she slowly keeps drinking another one. Jung Ninjin is baffled by it and wonders how much water she plans to drink. He knows they should be conserving it, and if the tap runs dry, they're screwed. Even so, Han Yina risked her life to get there. Jung Ninjin asks if she left her house, and then questions why she came specifically to his. The girl replies that she had been hiding outside all this time, which confuses our hero. She says that 3 days ago, when they met in front of the apartment, that day something happened, and because of it she changed her clothes and left the house for a while. While walking down the street looking at her phone, a woman screamed in fear, catching her attention. That was the moment everything fell apart. People started running in panic toward her, screaming in fear and telling others to flee. Han Yina also ran to save herself and hid in a stairwell near the shopping complex. She says she stayed there waiting for someone to rescue her, but no one ever came, and Jung Ninjin asked if she stayed there all that time alone. She remembers there was only one nearby door that wasn't locked. It led to a small meeting room, but the inner door to the building was locked, so she had no other choice but to hide in there. She was lucky to find a bottle of water inside, and that's how she survived. But on the third day, she was hungry and dehydrated and couldn't take it anymore. Since her house was nearby, she thought she could make it back and maybe get help. Han Yina sees zombies walking through the streets littered from the attacks, and a body lying on the ground up ahead. She wonders why it had to be that street, of all streets, filled with them. The girl turns into an alley, realizing it's the only path she can take, and so she kept sneaking around like that and ended up in his neighborhood. She even wonders if that really is Jung Ninjin's neighborhood. Han Yina notices the overturned ambulance in the street, as well as 2 zombies roaming around. She had to pass through his area to reach her apartment. The girl knows she has no other option and quickly runs across to the other side without being seen. She knows she's getting close to Jung Ninjin's house. She's been there before, so she remembers a bit of the way and is sure she just has to go through an alley up ahead. Han Yina is certain our hero returned home 3 days ago and wonders if he's still there. The infected, or as Jung Ninjin calls them, didn't catch her because she took several detours to get near his house. Our hero says thank God she's okay, and that she's really amazing. It must have taken a lot of courage to make it there. Han Yina lets out a sigh of relief and says it's truly a miracle he was home. But she quickly complains that her hair is all tangled and that she sweated like a pig on the way. In the end, she asks if he has water. Her armpits clearly showed just how much she sweated from running and the stress of the journey. Jung Minjin stares at that intensely, surprised by what he's seeing. He says he'll get her some water and that her armpits are soaked, and she must have been sweating a lot. Then he asks if she wants to change clothes, and if she wants some of his. Han Yina gets flustered and surprised by our hero's comment, and angrily starts kicking him, asking if he's crazy and saying he's a loser, and that it's no wonder people beat him up. But Minjin doesn't understand why. The girl gives up, saying she doesn't even have the energy to insult him, and asks if she can take a shower, if there's water in the bathroom. Our hero is still confused by all this, but he says yes and tells her to go ahead and shower. She thanks him. Meanwhile, Minjin stays seated on the floor, still lost and unsure why she suddenly hit him. In the meantime, the sound of the shower and water falling can be heard from the bathroom. Our hero just waits, sitting quietly in his room. He wonders what to do now, since he had been planning to leave the house before the girl showed up. And now that she's there, he can't just leave her behind. And even if he decides to stay, he only has enough food for one person for a month. And if she stays too, they won't have enough anymore. Our hero concludes that all of this is terrible, but the fact that Han Yina is taking a shower in his house is even more unbelievable than the zombie outbreak itself. Minjin remembers his school days before the catastrophe, when he ran into the girl while returning to class as she was leaving. But back in school, she never looked him in the eyes, always treating him like an insect. However, he's pulled out of his memories when Han Yina opens the door, surprising him. She asks if he can lend her some clothes, since she's been wearing the same ones for days and needs to wash them, and that catches him off guard. But Minjin quickly starts looking for clothes and asks if she wants a t-shirt and pajama pants or shorts, but she says that since he's so short, anything will fit. He hands her some clothes while feeling embarrassed about it, but Han Yina complains that it stinks and asks if he has anything else. Minjin says yes, but probably everything will smell the same, and she tells him to forget it. The girl smells the shirt she was given once more, and complains again that the musty odor is unbearable, but says she'll endure it until her clothes are dry. She tells him to use something to make it smell nice, but he says he just washed that shirt. The girl asks if that's what basements smell like, and says she's sensitive to smells. Han Yina complains again that it's disgusting and laughs a little, but our hero can't tell if that's just her personality or if she really doesn't grasp the situation to be whining like that. Night falls once again in the city, and the streets in the poor area grow dark and eerie as zombies growl outside. The girl's clothes are drying on a standing rack inside the house. Han Yina calls out to our hero after they've had dinner, and he asks what it is. She asks what they're going to do now, or if their only option is to hide there and wait for rescue. Minjin says that before she arrived, he was thinking about moving out of there the next day. She asks if he's crazy and why he would risk going outside when they already have food. She asks if he understands how close she came to dying just to get there, and now he wants to leave. She says she's not going, but he tells her it's not happening right now. He was just thinking. And now that she's there, it's probably better to wait until the rescue team arrives. Han Yina, worried, asks what they'll do if they run out of food. What will they do when that happens? Our hero goes quiet for a moment and says that if they want to survive, they'll have to break into other homes to find supplies. Aside from the rooftop, he's not sure if there are any infected, and the surrounding area is quieter. If they run out of food or water, they'll have no other choice but to leave. That leaves the girl in shock. She stands up and says she won't go out again. Minjin says they can't stay there forever, and once the food is gone, they'll have to go, but she says to think about that later. Han Yina asks if he's only seen a little bit outside, and says that if he steps out of the neighborhood, he'll change his mind. The zombies are dangerous, and it took everything she had to make it there. He asks if she made it there, and if that wasn't impressive, if she got through by dodging them, then she can do it again. But the girl asks if he isn't scared. Minjin says she knows those people are basically zombies. That makes the girl go silent. He says they still need to understand more, and from what he saw through the window, it looks like people turn after being bitten, and maybe it spreads through infection. Our hero admits he honestly doesn't care if he gets infected, since it's not like he has anything to lose. That leaves Han Yina shocked and speechless. But still scared, she says that's his decision, because she wants to live and doesn't want to end up like those people, and that she was supposed to study abroad next year. Minjin says they'll be fine as long as they don't touch the zombies, and asks if she got there without any issues, reminding her she told him she managed to hide all the way. He reveals that he's noticed patterns among the infected. Not all of them rush at you like they're trying to kill you. Depending on their injuries, some just walk and others collapse. and that zombies run slower than a normal person, which means the two of them can easily escape. Our hero asks if she ever played tag when she was a kid. She doesn't understand what he's trying to say. Minjin tells her to think of it like a game, and maybe that will make it feel more exciting to dodge the zombies. Hanyina calls him crazy for saying nonsense about tag at a time like this and says she's terrified right now. Our hero apologizes to her. In the end, she changes the subject, saying she's going to sleep and asks him to prepare the bed for her. The girl says she hasn't slept properly in days, and the exhaustion is starting to catch up to her. Minjin is speechless for a moment. He gets nervous about it and tries to explain, but he makes the bed by placing 2 pillows on the same mattress, which causes Hanyina to call him out. She asks if he's insane and if he's trying to sleep next to her, but our hero is confused by these questions. Hanyina points to the kitchen and tells him to go sleep there, leaving the boy even more lost about all of it. Minjin says that this is his house and that sleeping in front of the bathroom is a bit too much, but the girl tries to question that. In the end, she sighs and gives up on arguing. She says she forgot she's an uninvited guest and that she lost her temper, so she'll sleep in the kitchen and let him stay somewhere comfortable, leaving the boy baffled. The girl walks toward the kitchen hallway saying she's going to sleep outside on the dirty stairs and wishes him good night. Minjin questions her and says she can sleep there. Hanyina says it's his house, so he should be comfortable and tells him not to worry about her. He says it's dangerous and asks her to calm down because it was just a joke. Minjin says he can't be a bad host, that he'll sleep in the kitchen and it's fine. It was only a joke, and he insists on it. In the end, he sleeps in the kitchen near the bathroom. He understands that he won the argument, but at a great cost, and that it would have been easier to just sleep there alone from the start, and at least he's still inside the house. And thanks to Hanyina, he's no longer alone there, even if she talks way too much. Meanwhile, outside, zombies roam the dark streets, growling as they go. The only thing keeping the basement room from total darkness is a small candle burning slowly. Hanyina hears the moans of the undead outside. She stays awake through it all, deep in thought. Suddenly, she calls out to our hero, making him curious. He sits up and looks at the closed door to see what she wants to say. Hanyina tells him to come in and sleep there. She says being alone is scary. The monsters keep growling outside, showing they're close to the apartment window. Our hero sits in the corner of the room near the door. Hanyina says she heard those sounds several times while hiding on the mall stairs, but it's still strange and terrifying. Our hero stays silent and listens calmly while the girl says she misses her mom. Minjin remains sitting in the corner quietly, but that makes him really thoughtful about a lot of things. The night slowly passes, and soon a new day dawns with 2 zombies on the rooftop of one of the nearby buildings. In another building, the outer hallways are stained by violence, with some infected wandering around, but Hanyina keeps sleeping peacefully after a rough night. Minjin is surprised and wonders how long she's going to keep sleeping. She had said she couldn't sleep because she was scared, but now she's sleeping just fine. The wall clock shows the time passing slowly. It's now 9 in the morning. At that moment, Hanyina finally wakes up and sits up on the bed. She looks behind her, curious. The girl notices our hero putting on his jacket and asks where he's going. He hears her question, and replies that he was thinking of going to check the rooftop again, which surprises the girl. Nervously, she says he never confirmed whether there were more infected up there and asks what he'll do if there is one, but Minjin says it's fine, and if there is, he'll avoid them. He asks if she wants to go too, but she asks back if he's insane and says, stammering, that she can't go. Our hero says then he'll go alone while she stays there. That leaves the girl speechless. Minjin begins to climb the now sunlit stairs of the building. He notices something strange about the entrance doors, and is surprised to see the glass is cracked. Minjin knows that won't hold much longer, and even though it's covered with film, glass is still glass. Our hero keeps going up the stairs toward the rooftop. As he approaches, someone says something smells bad. That surprises him, and when he turns around, he sees Hanyina, who says she has a bad feeling about that place. Our hero is surprised by what the girl just said. Still, he enters the rooftop, and as he enters the apartment, he notices the state of the bathroom, dirty from the attack that took place there. He grows tense and is shocked by what else is in there. The body of the rooftop apartment owner's girlfriend is not moving. He believes he should at least pray for her to rest in peace. After that, Minjin left the apartment with his head down. Hanyina is surprised and asks if there was no one inside, and our hero replies that there is, but she already passed away, and our hero says he doesn't think it would be good for her to go in there. The girl is shocked by what he says and falls silent, understanding the situation. He says that it's a good place to set up a rescue signal, but it has to be at the right time. Yina asks why not prepare everything in advance, but he says the fire takes a while to light. She asks if they should look for survivors and shouts to see if anyone is there. He worries that zombies will come closer, and she says they can't climb, while he says the entrance glass was cracked, and so Jung Minjin and Han Yina had to survive there alone. The girl asks our hero what his MBTI is. He's confused and says he's never taken the test. Yina is surprised to meet someone who hasn't and says he probably doesn't even use social media and would have very few followers. She asks him about his hobbies. Minjin says games, and the girl asks what kind. He replies MOBAs and a zombie one. She finds that ironic. Now the world is just like the game. Yena says he's introverted, and since he's always alone, he couldn't possibly be extroverted. She asks if he's a planner or not, but he doesn't know and thinks she talks too much. The girl asks if he knows her MBTI, and he says he's not sure, but he knows that before, she would have never looked at him. Now maybe he's the only one she can talk to. That leaves our hero quiet and thoughtful, realizing that even so, Minjin is alone with the girl he used to be in love with, and he wonders if that's a good thing. Meanwhile, Yina doesn't stop talking. He knows that before, just the thought of talking to her would have made him happy. The girl continues to ramble endlessly. The world has become hell, and they could lose their lives at any moment, and he wonders if any of that even matters. But Yina keeps calling him. She pushes him and asks if he's ignoring her and why he won't answer. He apologizes and says he was lost in thought, which makes her call him a loser. After that, time slowly passes and some of the cardboard boxes shift out of place, letting sunlight enter the room. Yina is reading a Korean Manhwa magazine, and a few days after everything, she's still using the room. The girl asks if our hero has finished washing the clothes. Minjin complains about all of it while washing the laundry and hears Yina saying she's hungry. Annoyed, he starts thinking about really abandoning the girl right there and escaping alone. He wonders if he's Han Yina's slave and that she should wash her own clothes, but he's the classic type of loser who can't show his emotions. Minjin understands that they no longer have electricity, so they have to wash clothes by hand. Fortunately, there's still running water, and they have plenty of it, but the food is running low. The entire kitchen is dark due to the power outage, but it's still used to dry clothes. Our hero tells the girl he's heading out, and she tells him not to be late this time and to come back in 30 minutes. And if he makes her wait again, he's screwed. Tired, Minjin stammers while saying he understands, but inside, he's complaining. Slowly, our hero opens the building's double doors and cautiously looks outside. As he steps out, our hero locks the place behind him. He patrols the neighborhood once a day, but only through the safe paths. And after observing the infected outside for days, he's learned something. They behave like zombies and attack the living, but they don't attack the already dead, or others like themselves. The infected also don't notice anything beyond 50 to 100 meters, so they probably have terrible vision, though that seems to vary between individuals. They have enhanced hearing, so it's necessary to be careful with sounds. And there are 2 to 3 times fewer infected during the day than at night. It seems they move through shadows or corners during the day and hate sunlight, which means they should never go out at night. Minjin hides as he watches some zombies up ahead, knowing that these traits are exactly the same as the monsters in the online games he used to play. Our hero thinks maybe it's all just in his head, but besides that, they're just like the ones in that game. He figures maybe he was just too addicted to it, and he wonders if that's just a coincidence. There's no way it could be, but what if the infected are somehow related to that game? Then this is only the beginning, and that makes him serious and worried, because he knows that means the world is truly coming to an end. In the building where they're hiding, there are no monsters near the doors. Hanyina complains that she's already read all the comic books, and now she's way too bored. The sound of the clock echoes through the room, showing that time is passing. She complains, asking if our hero is late again and saying he's getting worse at listening to her. She decides she's going to have to train him more seriously. At that moment, a sound comes from outside. Yena knows it's that helicopter again, but she doesn't seem to care about it. The girl clearly remembers when the helicopter passed by. She and Minjin lit a fire and shouted for help to be noticed. But even when they tried to make a distress signal, it didn't help at all. The rich area remains lit by the daylight while the poor part stays in the shadows with its narrow streets. Meanwhile, time keeps moving forward without stopping. Yena sits in the room hugging her knees. Visibly worried and tense, she complains that Minjin still hasn't come back and asks why he isn't back yet. The girl paces around the place, wondering if it's already been an hour and a half since he left. She asks herself if something happened to him and if he was infected. She says he'd better get back soon or she's going to hit him, and questions if he only listens when being beaten. She told him it was dangerous, and if he tries it again, she's going to break his legs. The day goes on and afternoon starts to fall, making the streets grow darker. Ina sits on the floor, worried about our hero's situation. She starts crying, begging that he didn't lose his life. The girl knows the sun is almost setting and remembers Minjin said zombies come out at night. This makes her ask what will happen if he doesn't return in time. Time keeps passing, and the house grows dark, lit only by the candle in the room. That makes Yina plead for our hero to come back soon. Almost crying, the girl begs him not to leave her alone. At that moment, a noise comes from the door, and it surprises her. She looks toward the kitchen. Minjin appears in a hurry, calling her to come see something, but he notices the tears in her eyes and is confused by what's going on. Yina stands up, still upset, and faces our hero. She starts saying that he's 3 hours late and asks if he wants to die. Still teary, she charges at Minjin to hit him, saying he really needs a beating to snap out of it. He tells her to wait and look at what he brought. Our hero shows a flyer and says the helicopter was dropping them and that he went to the location to get one. That's why he was late. The girl asks what he's talking about. Yina looks at the paper and is shocked by what's written on it, to the point she can't believe it and asks what the hell that is. The flyer says that Gamebook is under quarantine and all survivors must evacuate the area by 6 p.m. on the 10th. Yina knows that's exactly where they are. She realizes that's happening tomorrow and asks if they know how many people live there and if they're serious. Minjin tells her to look on the back for the safe zones, which confuses her. Yina sees that their neighborhood, Zhongmendong, is in the North Central District and is listed as caution, and that area seems to have less infection. Yongqing-dong is marked as safe. Minjin says the important part is that the districts around their neighborhood are listed as very dangerous, and that could spread there and make things worse. The girl is stunned by this news. Our hero says that waiting for rescue was the worst decision. Yina asks if they need to escape now, and if at this point that's even possible. She asks where they're locking things down, and if all of Gamebook is closing, then that means they've shut off the north of the Han River. Minjin knows there are few people there and wonders what counts as very dangerous, and if they might be wrong. But in this situation, they have no choice but to trust that information. He says if the north is in bad shape, then not escaping through there is impossible. The only option they have is to cross the Han River. That shocks Yina. Minjin says that to do that, it would be faster to go through certain areas, but since they're listed as very dangerous, they'll have to take detours through Gangdong, and time is short. Luckily, the nearby area is safer, and if they have to take a detour, it's better to go that way. Maybe they even built barricades or something similar in Zhongmendong, since it's lower risk. All of this being explained non-stop leaves Yina truly surprised, and she comments that she thought he was just a clueless idiot, but he's much sharper than expected. However, the boy simply says that aside from that, he turns and seriously says they need to leave right now. Yina asks if he's planning to leave now that it's getting dark. Minjin says that to avoid the zombies, they'll have to leave early in the morning, and she asks if they'll even make it. The girl suggests trying to hold out for a few more days, saying someone will definitely come rescue them before then, but the boy shouts her name. He says if she wants to miserably lose her life down there in that basement, then she can stay, but he's leaving tomorrow as soon as the sun rises. Hearing those words so seriously and directly leaves her stunned, but reality quickly hits her. Yina puts her hand to her face, complains a little, and says she understands. She asks if he has another backpack to put supplies and belongings in. Minjin says he has a smaller bag, but it'll just get in the way. It's better to put everything in his backpack. After packing everything and resting, the day dawns in the district. The sun shines into the room through the space between the cardboard boxes on the window. Ready, Minjin asks if they can go, and Yina says yes. As he turns, our hero pauses and shows hesitation. He asks the girl if she's sure she doesn't want to go to her father's hospital. Minjin apologizes for asking again, but she had said her dad works there, and he wonders if they should check if he's still there, or where exactly he is now. Yina stays silent, looking down, but she smiles and says it's fine, that they should hurry and leave already. The last time she spoke with her father, he said he and her mother had been evacuated and were heading to a shelter. She finally asks if that satisfies him, and he says yes. Yina says they should move forward. That makes Minjin tense, and he feels like something's wrong. Outside the apartment, the morning sun rises into the sky. Our hero proceeds slowly, trying to make as little noise as possible while walking. When he looks around the corner to his right, he spots a zombie with its back turned. Minjin signals that it's all clear, and Yina approaches too, trying to make as little noise as possible. The street has fewer bodies now, but the ambulance is still flipped over, and a few zombies walk through the shadows. Quickly, the pair uses the sunlit path and begins advancing to cross the area. Using the overturned emergency vehicle as visual cover, they pass through without being detected. Our hero says the path seems good, and Yina agrees. They move to another part of the district, where 2 buses had crashed, and several cars have been abandoned. One of the buses shows signs of an attack both inside and out, stained all over, along with a birthday poster of the idol Lumina. Yina says going out at this hour makes everything feel less scary, and asks if she was too nervous before. She thought it would be her end. Minjin says just to stay away from dark areas. He says there are no infected in places with strong sunlight, but that doesn't mean they won't attack, so staying alert is key. The girl asks if it's always been this far and says isn't it just around the corner. Minjin asks her to hang in there. She says she should have brought a bicycle. Maybe even a scooter would have been easier. Minjin agrees they'd move faster with that. But the problem is, with no communication, they couldn't use the scooters, and it seems like all the bikes were already stolen. Yina asks if they can rest for a bit. She says our hero walks way too fast, and that it's giving her a huge leg cramp. Minjin is surprised by that. He asks about going to a cafe and getting coffee, saying he'll place the order first, but the girl says he doesn't have to be so mean. Yina asks if he gained confidence after stepping outside, and when they get to the safe zone, she's going to tell him some hard truths. But Minjin tells her to be quiet or they'll be heard. The city remains lit by the morning sun and eerily silent. Meanwhile, the duo keeps walking. The girl asks how far until Yangmiandong, and he replies it's just a little more. She complains that Minjin said they were almost there, but he says not yet, it's a bit further ahead. While he walked, avoiding zombies and listening to her complaints, she asked for water, but he said they needed to conserve it. Our hero was also starting to feel more hurt. The pair soon came across a small truck blocking the road, with several pieces of furniture piled haphazardly behind it, forming a barricade. Minjin was surprised and asked what that huge barricade was, but this was Yangshindong, and with a blockade like that, it seemed that area was safer than the others. Yina asked if it was true and thanked God. She said there must be survivors and that they should look for them, but our hero remarked that with a barricade like that, there should be people guarding it. Yina said she hadn't seen any infected around and couldn't even smell rotting flesh, but Minjin climbed up on the truck and said that even so, they shouldn't let their guard down. The girl asked him to look for a place where they could hide safely and asked if they could rest because she was tired, but he said they didn't have time for that. Minjin told her to stop whining and hurry up. Yina was confused and asked what he was talking about. She put her hand on her hip and asked what was going on with his tone as he tried to get through the barricade. And in the end, the two of them stared at each other. Minjin knew that was how they ended up there, with Yina crying. But our hero looked at her without saying anything. With a trembling voice, Yina apologized. Minjin immediately showed a surprised expression. The girl apologized to him again, but our hero noticed the zombies getting closer. He shouted for her to look at what was coming behind her, and when Yina turned, she was shocked. 3 infected were running toward them, growling, and the girl screamed in fear. Our hero quickly grabbed her wrist and started running, pulling her along with him to escape the infected. The duo ran, fleeing through the abandoned, cluttered streets. Yina asked what was going on, since they'd said that neighborhood was safe, but Minjin told her to run faster. A man appeared ahead among the furniture, and our hero asked if they were survivors. The man shouted for them to hurry and follow him, and our hero thanked him for the help. As they passed him, the man told them both to go in and said he'd close the entrance, but Minjin said he'd help. Yina called for our hero, and he told her to hurry to a safe place. Our hero and the man began pulling the heavy shelf, counting 1, 2. But at 3, one of the zombies was already too close for them to shut it in time. The monster roared at the sight of the living. The infected reached the man, who panicked. He shouted for the zombie to back off, and Minjin was startled. But the man managed to shove the zombie into a piece of furniture, knocking it down. That made the survivors start to flee, saying they'd made it through and to keep running. Yina screamed in terror at the scene while our hero yelled for her to run to the back of the building. Immediately, both ran again, terrified from the infected chasing them through the narrow alley. Minjin helped the girl climb over the barricade, seeing one of the zombies quickly approaching. Once at the top, he said they needed to jump from there. Still shaken, Yina replied okay. They both jumped, landing on the other side of the barricade. But Yina screamed in pain and said she twisted her ankle. Our hero was shocked and worried by this, and the angry growl caught his attention. Looking ahead, he was surprised. He saw 2 zombies charging toward them at high speed. That made Minjin realize they were screwed in that situation. He remembered Yina saying that he was frustrating, and that if people had done this to him, he needed to fight back, and that if he'd already been beaten, why not fight even if he got hurt again? She said watching guys like him act so pathetic, and that he wasn't good at anything. Then she asked if he should at least have the courage to fight back, and if it wasn't miserable to live the way he was living. That made him pull a knife from inside his jacket. At that moment, he thought that if he died like that. Yina noticed this change in Minjin. She called his name, her voice trembling from the pain and fear. But our hero at that moment believed that at least this way, she wouldn't be able to say he lived miserably. A red motorcycle approached at high speed. The passenger shouted for Minjin to duck. Our hero looked back, surprised. Park Seongbin struck the zombie's face with a metal bat. The driver got off the motorcycle to help, while another guy approached, also armed, saying they should help take down the other one too. Seongbin yells at the infected to disappear, and the pair is surprised by it, while the young man tells one of his friends to take out the guy in the suit and finish him. After the fight, the young man says the feeling of hitting an infected with the bat is incredible, and that nothing beats swinging the bat while riding a motorcycle. As he turns around, he spots Han Yina and Jong Minjin. Park Seongbin asks what she's doing there, and the girl is surprised to see him. The young man asks who the guy with her is. That makes our hero nervous, realizing he's completely screwed, and that of all people. Songbin asks why our hero is with Han Yina. That guy is the one person Minjin feared more than even a zombie. The two groups stare at each other in silence for a few moments. The guy asks what's with the knife and if he was trying to fight the zombies. He says he's impressed. He thought Minjin was a coward. The other two laugh. Seongun asks if the two of them ran into each other, saying it's a pretty random combo. Yina says it just happened. She says that if it weren't for them, she would have lost her life and thanks them for helping. The guy laughs, saying he saved her. Songbin asks where they're going and tells her to come with them, saying there are a lot of other survivors at their hideout. The girl asks if that's true and if it's a safe place. He tells her not to worry, that it's safe. She asks if they heard the news and says they should be fleeing, but he says it's too late. That confuses her, and he says it's a long story. Seongbin asks if she can ride on the back. Yina thanks him, and one of the guys asks if she'll ride the motorcycle. Where should the other guy go? He's told the two can take the scooter. But Park looks more serious in the girl's direction. He looks directly at our hero, who's been silent behind her the whole time, and that leaves her confused. Songbin asks his friend if it's okay for them to take Han Yina with them. The guy laughs and says yes, but she doesn't understand what's going on. Park tells her to forget it, and that she should hurry up and get on the scooter. Yina looks back in Minjin's direction, and says they need to take Minjin too, asking how he's going to come with them. Seongun asks if they really have to bring him too. One of the guys questions that and suggests leaving our hero behind. The other asks if he, a loser, won't just be dead weight, and they need to ration food. In the end, they wish Minjin good luck surviving on his own. Yina grows tense and speechless at this, but Park Seongbin says they'll take him too. It won't be bad to have more people. However, our hero tells them to forget it, because he's not going. That catches the young man off guard. Our hero says he'll walk on his own, and that his destination is different from theirs. Yina doesn't understand what's going on. Minjin turns and starts walking away, but Seongbin tells him to wait. But our hero ignores him, and the guy gets irritated. Park asks if he remembers the last time he ignored him, and says this time he's really going to kill him. The young man says the world's gone to hell, and now he really can do it. He asks Minjin if he should do to him what he did to that zombie earlier. Our hero just looks back, showing he couldn't care less about any of that. Songbin tells Minjin to go with them while he's still being nice. At that moment, Yina asks if Park is crazy and what he means by execute him. She also asks if he's the one who attacked our hero last time and says he hasn't changed at all. Minjin remembers the day when Songbin asked him if Yina showed up, would he try to shoot his shot with her. The guy talked about her weird photos and asked if she was really that bad of a person. Park said she seemed exactly the same. The boy was surprised and said that was brutal. Our hero hears one of the guys ask if Songbin ever did that with her, and Park responded by asking if he hadn't done it too. They all laughed about it. Minjin stays silent, tense with those memories. Park apologizes and says he was being rude in front of Yina. She says next time she'll, but he tells her to stop whining. At that moment, our hero says it's fine. He apologizes to Songbin and says he'll go with him. The bully doesn't understand anything at first, but soon he gets excited, saying that's good, and asks if our hero knows that trying to leave that place is basically asking to die. Songbin says they should first go to their hideout and rest, and that tomorrow he'll take Minjin to his destination, then asks if that's okay. After some time traveling through the new area, the group arrives at a tunnel blocked off with various pieces of furniture. Songbin asks our hero if he's ever been there before, but Yina asks what that place is. Minjin knows that this is the path to the construction site where Park beat him up and wonders if the hideout is really in a place like this. Once everyone is inside, one of the guys closes the entrance, but another complains that he's leaving a gap there. The first guy snaps back and tells him to just shut the entrance. Our hero whispers to the girl, who looks at him to see what it is. He says that no matter how much he thinks about it, he doesn't feel like following them is the right thing to do, and that they should run away as soon as they get the chance. But she asks what he's talking about. Minjin says those guys might do something to them, and that he has a really bad feeling about it. Yina tells him not to worry because they're weaklings, and that Park Seongbin has been her lackey since elementary school, and if he tries to hit our hero again, she'll protect him. They said there are other survivors and adults in there. Minjin asks if she really believed that, and says that to her, they may be friends, but he knows exactly who they are. Our hero asks if she really thinks Seongbin is just some school friend from childhood. That leaves Yina speechless. At that moment, the girl calls out to Park Seongbin. The guy turns around to see what she wants, and she tells him they're going back outside. The girl says her parents are at a shelter in another area, and she wants to see if they're okay, and if they don't go today, it'll be too late. Park asks if that's true. He quickly says that, as far as he knows, Seopyeongdong was completely destroyed. Songbin asks why she put herself in danger by going with Minjin when she could just rest there and leave with them tomorrow. Yeona tries to come up with an excuse, but fails. In the end, the girl says they're in a hurry and will go their own way now. She turns around, telling him they're leaving. But then one of the guys slams a bat against the tunnel wall, blocking the girl's path while Songbin says her name and repeats it, saying that if she's going, then they're going with her tomorrow. The bully asks if she has something going on with Jung Minjin and what's happening between them all of a sudden. Yeona gets angry because of that and starts saying the guy's name. She repeats that she's going, but starts fumbling her words in fear. Our hero notices this. He already knew this would happen. Minjin says that everyone can talk about it together, and that anyway, the sun is already about to set. This surprises Yeona. The group finally leaves the dark tunnel and approaches the construction site filled with debris. Minjin knows this is definitely the place and that they piled barricades on both sides to keep the infected from getting close. He notices that it looks like they put in effort, but it's still rather sloppy. Our hero looks at the girl, who seems a bit tense. He lightly touches her stomach, making her curious. Minjin calmly tells her not to worry. His expression is calm and steady, showing that he's not going to abandon her. But this time, she doesn't respond. A zombie's growl scares her, making her scream in fear. Nearby, there are a few zombies trying to get through the barricade. She asks if they're really sure this place is safe and begs them to do something. Songbin says she's being a coward and that there's no need to worry. There's no way the zombies can get through, but Minjin believes it could collapse at any moment. Our hero wonders if you look closely, they're completely surrounded by zombies and questions if that guy really built a hideout in such a terrible location. Park tells him to follow him up the stairs. Minjin wonders if they're heading to the second floor and thinks that if they pull the stairs up, the infected won't be able to follow. Our hero is the last in the group to climb. Songbin says he brought both of them, and that leaves Minjin stunned by what he sees. Up ahead, there are two guys, a fat one who looks surprised and a tattooed one, both clearly trouble. The fat guy asks what's going on and if they got new visitors. Songbin says they're kids from their class and asks if he's heard of Han Yeona. What seems to be the local leader asks if that's Han Yeona. The fat guy gets excited, greets her, introduces himself as Bongyu, says he really wanted to meet her and used to follow her on social media, but asks why she never followed him back. Songbin asks Yeona if she remembers Lee, the guy he told her about. She says it's the first time she's heard that name and wonders who that pig is. Bongyu stands up and says the place is super safe and she can relax. The girl seems hesitant and says she heard Gangbuk might be closing down and that staying there isn't a good idea. The fat guy says that's nonsense, that the bridges and roads are closed and they just have to wait for rescue. Yeona doesn't believe it, and Lee says they have plenty of food to live there. There are several chairs, tents, and kitchen utensils around the place, as well as gas cans and wood for the fire. The stairs leading to the first floor are blocked by rubble. After seeing all this, Minjin wonders if they built and prepared all of it themselves, but he doesn't believe that. He notices three men sitting on the floor and questions whether those guys took over someone else's hideout. Bongyu asks Songbin if he found anything else. He replies that he was heading to the market, but ran into those two on the way and couldn't go. The fat guy says that's great, that they have more than enough food to eat. But a girl is like hitting the lottery. The guys laugh, and Yeona realizes she's in serious trouble, and that Minjin was right. She was completely fooled by Park Seongbin. The girl taps on the shoulder of the boy who used to be her classmate. As he turns, she asks if they can talk for a second, which makes him curious. They walk away from the others, and Seongbin asks what she wants. Yeona tells him to stop messing around and asks if he can let her leave. She says she followed him without knowing what kind of place this was, and he knows she hates these kinds of things, especially the people he surrounds himself with. The girl apologizes and says she really doesn't think she can stay there, and she doesn't believe Gangang Bridge's close. It's better if she just continues the way she was going. Yeona starts to walk away, saying she's leaving, which shocks Songbin. The girl starts telling Minjin that they should go back, but Park grabs her arm, calling out to her. That surprises and frightens her. Songbin curses and asks where she thinks she's going, and if she still thinks she can just do whatever she wants. The girl is scared and can barely speak. At that moment, someone touches Songbin's arm. Minjin interrupts and asks him to stop. That surprises Park enough to make him let out a short laugh. He takes off his jacket while cursing at our hero and asks if he's lost his mind. Meanwhile, on the first floor, zombies wander between the debris and barricades. Songbin asks what our hero plans to do if he doesn't stop him, and why he doesn't just use that knife of his to attack. Yeona tells the bully to stop, but Park keeps going, asking if now that it's come to this, Minjin still can't do anything and tells him to go ahead and stab him. but someone steps in and distracts them. Lee Bongyu shows up asking what's going on. Songgun laughs and says Yina is just a little uncomfortable because the place isn't what she expected. The fat guy says it's fine, they'll be sleeping in the tents. Park reveals that our hero has a kitchen knife on him and that he told him to hand it over, but he refused. Bongyu gets serious and questions that. He curses Minjin and asks if he's really carrying something so dangerous, and tells him to hand over the knife unless he wants a beating. Our hero knows he can't let them take his only weapon, but also that there's no way he can win alone against all 5 of them with just that. In the end, Minjin hands over his knife without saying a word. A tattooed guy says Bongyu is the boss, he's the second in command, and Sinongbin is like a squad leader, and if our hero doesn't obey, he's screwed. Since the country's under a state of emergency, they have to act like the military or everything will fall apart. He asks if he got that, and says next time he won't be so lucky. But to Minjin, it's all nonsense. Lee hugs Yina by the neck and asks if she's tired from all the walking, and tells her to go rest in the tent. She curses and complains that he scared her. Bongyu is surprised and asks if she just cursed, but the girl says no, that she was just startled, and that she's been like this for a few days now. The fat guy agrees, saying it's because of the zombies. He says his tent is the perfect size for camping, that the mattress is soft and comfortable, and tells her to go rest. Yina becomes frightened, realizing he's insane and that she needs to think of a way to buy time. She politely asks the fat guy, calling him Big Bro, for a moment. The girl says her stomach is hurting and asks if he has anything to eat. He asks if she's hungry, and says if she's hungry, then everyone should eat. They have lots of pork belly from a butcher shop and will throw a meat party tonight. Everyone cheers. Minjin realizes this is the worst case scenario. That place is practically complete anarchy, with no order whatsoever. Yina complains a little, but Bongyu apologizes and says she's really cute. Our hero knows that, to her, those thugs are just as dangerous as the infected, especially that fat pig who definitely won't leave her alone, and she could be in danger at any moment now. Our hero knows he needs to think of something, a way to get her out of there right now. He wonders if he should lure some zombies there to create chaos, but then he thinks about the other survivors. Still, he's not sure he can trust those 3 men either. Minjin considers waiting until everyone's asleep so he can try to escape. But what if they try something with Yina before then? All of this makes our hero curse internally in frustration. The pork belly starts frying and cooking on a yoke pan and a grill. Lee says he'll start eating next to Yina, but she curses at him. He questions her reaction, but she says the meat smells great and laughs. Lee agrees, it really does make you want to curse. One of the guys says pork belly really does smell good, and another tells Minjin to take those pieces over to the men there. Our hero mentally questions how little it is and knows it's cruel. Minjin decides to share some of his own portion too. He approaches the 3 adult survivors trying to talk to them. Our hero says it's not much, but asks them to please accept the food. The one who helped the duo escape earlier thanks him, calling him student. Night finally falls on the city, turning it into a sinister place as a spotlight illuminates the entrance to the tunnel. Inside the construction site on the 2nd floor, a barrel is being used as a fire pit to light and warm the area. Yina and Minjin are sitting together by one, but she's tense about the situation. Bongyu, excited, calls out to the girl affectionately and asks why she's sitting so far away, inviting her to come closer, but the girl says no. Lee says it's time to sleep, but Yina says she'll sleep right there. She knows she needs to sneak out of there while everyone's asleep. Bongyu gets annoyed, saying she always acts like this, and if she keeps it up, hell, the park stops him, and tells him to cut it out right now. Lee is surprised and asks what he just said. Songbin becomes more serious and asks if he didn't hear him. He curses him and says he told him to stop. Bongyu insults him back, so angry the veins in his face look like they're about to burst, and asks if he's gone crazy. Lee keeps asking if he's lost his mind. The second in command looks confused and asks what's wrong with Park. Songden laughs and tells Bongyu that ever since they got stuck in there together, he made a decision, and first he's going to execute him. With a strange look in his eyes, the guy says there won't be any of that brother crap around here anymore, and from now on he's the boss. He asks Lee if he got that. That makes the fat thug explode with rage, and he curses before swinging a punch at Park. Songden easily dodges the blow. It's far too slow, and he quickly puts Bongyu in a dangerous chokehold, who starts suffocating as Park tells him, "Disappear, you piece of trash." The tattooed guy gets pissed and asks if Songden is crazy, then curses him. One of Park's friends uses a golf club and hits the other thug hard. While he keeps Lee in the chokehold, the leader of the trio tells his 2 friends to finish off the 2 vandals. One of the adults stands up and asks what's going on and if they should stop all of that, while Yina and Minjin are both shocked by what's happening. Our hero realizes that this is their chance. He tells her that it's now catching her off guard with that. But Seongbin hears everything and spots the pair. They start running to escape, which makes Park shout for them to hold the two down. One of the guys quickly grabs Yina, making her scream. Minjin sees it and is shocked by what's happening, calling her name. The girl screams in fear, telling the guy to let her go, but he threatens her with a knife, telling our hero not to move unless he wants her to lose her life. And he tells Yina to stay quiet unless she wants to be stabbed. Desperate, she bites the guy's arm, making him scream in pain. That makes him let go of her, giving the girl time to run to our hero. Angry, the guy curses and attacks her from behind with the knife. But quickly, two hands grab his arm. Minjin manages to save Yina from being stabbed, but now he's in trouble, which worries her. The guy gets furious at our hero for not being overpowered and starts cursing him. Then he kicks Minjin in the stomach and asks how a loser like him can act tough. Our hero groans in pain as the guy follows up with a knife attack. The knife soon falls to the floor, stained from the strike. Blood from the wound begins to drip onto the ground slowly. Yina brings her hands to her mouth, shocked. Minjin puts his hand on his stomach where he was stabbed. He's a bit disoriented, while the adults watch in surprise and Yina screams his name. Another guy quickly kicks our hero while he's down. They both start kicking him and hitting him with a golf club, cursing and asking if he's talking back to them. The girl screams as she watches. At that moment, someone grabs her wrist. Songbin laughs and asks, in a dark tone, if Yina knows he's had his eye on her since high school. He says the other girls accepted him easily, but she was the only one who didn't. He asks if she thinks she's too good for him just because she's rich, which terrifies her. Park says she had fun playing queen at the school her father forced her into. He says he's also rich, has more money than the others, and has all the qualities. And after cursing her, he asks why she always acted so arrogant with him. With a truly twisted and threatening expression, Songbin says he wants to try her at least once. She's so expensive, and that makes Yina scream in fear. One of the men approaches Park, calling his attention and saying that no matter what, he can't. But before finishing, Songbin tells him to shut up and kicks him hard in the stomach. The man falls to the ground in pain, and the other adults ask if he, Mr. Kim, is okay. Park also asks if he's alright and says he warned him before, again calling him an old man. And once more, he says he had warned him. Songbin grabs Mr. Kim by the collar and says he'll finish him if he speaks one more time with that nonsense. After that, Park throws the man with force, saying that was the second warning, and now it's time for him to go. Yina watches it all, terrified by the brutality. The man falls from the second floor and hits the ground on the first floor. Still alive, he screams in pain. But two zombies begin to approach him while Mr. Kim pleads, trembling, for someone to save him. Unfortunately, he is attacked by the infected, and his screams of pain echo. The two men question what Park is doing throwing Kim down there and ask if he's lost his mind. Songbin tells his two friends to take care of those two guys too, but one of them asks what he means by that. Park yells, asking what he thinks it means, and tells them to throw everyone down to the first floor, except for Yina. The two adults are attacked, and one of them begs to be saved, while the girl kneels down and asks Minjin if he's okay. She tells him to run quickly, but Seongbin approaches and asks where she thinks she's going. He says it's hell out there and asks if she shouldn't stay and play with him instead. Yina starts screaming, telling him to let her go. The guy who stabbed our hero approaches him and says it's time for him to lose his life too. Minjin is dragged while the young man says he almost felt sorry for him, but then asks who told him to act all tough. He ends by asking Yeontang for help with it. The guy complains, saying he thought our hero was just a twig, but he's actually pretty heavy. The other guy starts counting, 1, 2, but on 3, Minjin grabs one of the guys by the shirt and says he's coming with him too. That catches the guy by surprise, and he doesn't have time to react. As they fall, our hero says the two of them are going to hell together. That makes the guy being dragged down scream, which surprises Songbin. Yeomtang calls out for his friend who fell. Park asks what happened. He explains that the guy fell to the first floor, but the bully calls his friend an idiot. On the lower floor, the adults scream for help but are quickly attacked by the zombies, while our hero and the guy lie on the ground. Sunjian starts getting up and complains about the pain, but then he notices something. He looks at his right leg and curses, asking what's wrong with it. It's clearly broken. Our hero stands up, still holding his injured stomach. The guy is surprised to see that. Sunjian grabs Minjin's leg, leaving him confused. He curses him and asks where he thinks he's going. The guy complains and says his leg is probably broken because of him, and sweating from the pain, he begs for help. Sunjian pleads again, but one of the zombies is right behind him, and quickly and brutally attacks the guy. He screams in pain while Yeomtang and Park watch it all. The younger one asks what they should do, but the bully says he doesn't know, and it's better to abandon the friend. Yina is shocked by all of it, and without wasting time, she starts running to escape. Seongbin notices this. He curses as he quickly begins chasing after the girl. Yina jumps over a low metal scaffold. She leaps onto a wooden piece of furniture up ahead. Songbin quickly catches up and tells her to stop right there. The girl is startled by this, Park gets really angry and curses at her for daring to run away from him. Ina keeps moving forward across the furniture while Seongbin says she's crazy and asks where she thinks she's going in the middle of the night in a place full of zombies. The girl notices solar panels up ahead on top of a container. Park threatens her, yelling for her to wait until he catches her. But determined, Ina runs, picks up speed, and jumps from the shelf to the metal container. The girl manages to land the jump and lets out a sigh of relief. She looks back, tense and afraid. Seongbin follows, laughing and cursing at her, asking if she really escaped. He jumps up onto the wooden shelf, and at that moment, the whole structure begins to creak. Park is surprised by the noise and realizes he's losing balance. Because he stepped the wrong way while jumping onto the shelf, the furniture becomes unstable and collapses, bringing Seongbin down with it. The guy crashes hard onto the floor, groaning in pain from the fall. Ina watches everything, fearful, but knowing that this is her chance. The girl starts screaming, drawing attention and luring the zombies toward her. The infected hear her screams and turn in her direction. Seongbin, still dazed, notices this and gets tense while Yina keeps shouting for the undead to come her way. She says there's a nasty guy down there and begs someone to come take him away. She even coughs from yelling so much, which makes Park tense and stunned by what she's doing. He curses her and screams that he's definitely going to end her life. Zombies approach from the right, and the guy turns to see the creatures. Two infected start running toward him, growling in rage. Seongbin curses and begins running to escape the undead. Park yells for the two to get away from him, while Yina wonders, worried, where Minjin is. She prays for him to be safe. While Seongbin is attacked by zombies and pleads for help, our hero appears, making the girl ask if it's really him. That makes Yina happy, and she thanks God that he's safe, while she mentally tells our hero that she's up there. Minjin approaches the container, still in pain. The girl asks if he can climb up. He grabs onto the metallic frame of the scaffolding, and despite the pain, begins climbing up, leaning on the ventilation system of the container. Ina, mentally, begs him to hold on just a little longer. In the end, she finally grabs his hand to help pull him up. She pulls with all her strength while Minjin feels intense pain. Once on top of the container, Ina asks if the wound from earlier is okay, and if he wasn't bitten by the zombies. He says he luckily avoided them, but he feels very dizzy. Yumtang follows the same path as the girl and yells, asking where Park Seongbin is, catching her by surprise. He tells the two of them to wait for him there. Minjin says they need to run now, and Yina agrees with what he said. She asks if he can run. Our hero tells her not to worry about him and to focus on escaping alone. They both jump to the other side of the container, but Minjin falls to the ground. Yina asks if he's okay, but our hero complains about the pain. She helps him walk, asking him to hang in there just a bit longer. The duo navigates through the maze of that hideout while zombies groan and people scream for help. Over time, no more voices of living survivors can be heard, only the sounds of the infected. Yina says there must be some infected nearby and that, as expected, it's very dangerous at night. Our hero, wounded and sweating cold, calls out to her. He says that if the zombies find him, but then corrects himself and tells her to abandon him and start running now. Yina questions what he just said. The girl replies that she's going to save him no matter what. She says that path doesn't seem to have a bad smell and maybe the infected aren't there. The pair finally leave the hideout and make their way through the dark streets, dimly lit by a few streetlights in the poor area of the district. Minjin continues to be helped by her as he walks slowly with little strength. Yina notices something up ahead that catches her attention. A half-open door with light coming from it. The inside is lit by ceiling lamps, but it's still somewhat dark. The girl sneaks up, trying to see if the place is safe and if there are any survivors. She doesn't feel anything there and, fearful, wonders if no one is around. Yina tells our hero that they should rest there for a while, but Minjin falls to the ground, clutching the wound on his abdomen, which surprises the girl. She sits beside him and begs him to stay alive. Our hero doesn't respond. The only sound he makes is his labored breathing caused by the injury. Yina's eyes start to fill with tears as she sees him in that state. The girl says that it's all her fault. She blames herself for not being able to leave the house, for them being discovered by zombies and put in danger, and for him ending up at the construction site in that condition. All of it is her fault. She also says she's to blame for Minjin having had such a miserable time at school. Yina clutches his jacket tightly, begging him not to leave her. But a noise echoes through the place, scaring her and making her look behind. The sound comes from the dimly lit hallway. A shadow appears in the corridor, increasing the tension of the moment. Yina wonders who is there. The shadow gets closer and closer to where they are, until a man armed with an axe and carrying a large backpack on his back appears. He's surprised and asks if the two of them are human. A second man appears, saying his friend startled him, but he gets curious about what he sees. The man asks if Yina and Minjin are the same duo from earlier. That's the person who cleared a path for them when they were fleeing from the zombies. Yina remembers him and that he helped them escape yesterday. The man is surprised to see them there and asks if they really survived. The girl asks him the same thing while the other survivor looks confused. One of them asks if our hero is hurt, and the other notices that he's badly wounded. That leads the survivor to ask if the boy was bitten by a zombie, but Yina explains that he wasn't bitten, he was stabbed with a knife. She pleads for help and says Ninjin is in very bad shape. The man who helped them becomes concerned and asks his friend if they have a first aid kit, and he says yes. The survivor with the backpack positions himself behind the girl while the other one asks if she's okay, and she says yes and thanks him. But suddenly she is grabbed from behind and has her mouth covered so she can't scream, which terrifies her. She tries to scream for help, but the man starts laughing, saying they got lucky and asking what they're going to do with him, while someone else approaches. The man replies that they're supposed to take her away. Yina keeps trying to scream, and the survivor complains that she's struggling too much. His friend tells him to knock her out. Someone appears and tells the two to stop what they're doing. This makes the two survivors look at the newcomer without understanding what's going on. The guy who just arrived says they have until the count of 3 to disappear. The man who had helped our hero asks, while holding a pickaxe, what they should do about that guy. His friend tells him to take him out. Quickly, the survivor charges forward with a weapon to attack the newcomer, who throws his spiked bat to the ground and pulls out a small pocket knife. He dodges the pickaxe attack by ducking. He quickly gets back up and slashes the attacker with a small blade. The attack is fatal, and the man groans in pain as he grabs his wound. That puts the other survivor on edge. He places the axe near the girl, threatening her, and tells the newcomer not to move, and that if he tries anything, he'll kill the girl. The guy shows the knife as if he's going to drop it, but with a strong and swift motion, he throws the knife at the other man, killing him instantly. Yina is so tense and shocked by what just happened that she can't speak properly. That man is Kang Hakyul, the North Korean defector who's in the same class as her and our hero. After the commotion, the group moves to a room inside the place. On the table, dimly lit by a light, there are bandages, scissors, and some first aid supplies. Kang says that our hero's wound wasn't that deep and that he should be fine. The guy says Minjin passed out from the trauma, not the injury, and he just needs to rest for a day. Yina thanks him for the help. She says he's really good at this kind of treatment and asks where he learned it. He replies he picked it up here and there, but she thinks he's amazing because he knows how to suture. Kang changes the subject, saying that isn't important, and asks what they're doing there, and if she knows how dangerous that neighborhood is. Yina says they saw the flyers saying Yongxin-dong was safe, so that's why they're there, but they were captured by Songbin. The guy questions this, and she asks how he knows. He says he does, and asks what happened to Park. She reveals that when they ran, everyone was being attacked and he was chased, but she doesn't know what happened to him. Kang says maybe that bully is still alive, and that the rumor about Yongxin-dong being safe is now false. Unless they escaped at the very beginning, everyone's already been infected while trying to hold back the outbreak. Up until a few days ago, it was rare to see one of them, but since yesterday, their numbers have exploded. On top of that, there are now humans around even crazier than the infected, and it's rare to see a girl like her walking around out there now. That surprises Yina. Kang says that if she's wandering around unprotected and gets kidnapped, no one knows what might happen to her. She needs to be very careful since all of Gamebook has turned into anarchy. He says that honestly, if things keep going like this, other areas in the capital will end up the same way. The girl can't believe this is really happening. That makes her ask why the guy is still there. Kang replies that he has his reasons, and that he was thinking of crossing into Gangnam as soon as the sun rises. Yina is surprised and asks if that's true. She asks if he also heard the news about Gamebook being closed off, but then remembers the flyer said the area would be sealed starting today. Kang says things have started getting worse. Among several containers, the sound of the undead can be heard. He doesn't know if all of Gangbuk has been sealed, but the areas beyond the Han River were blocked off at least 2 days ago. That surprises Yina. Kang says many infected flooded the areas near the bridges and the river. It's impossible to go there, people fled at first, which made the government seal the place, causing them to show up here. Yina is impressed and asks how he knows all this. The young man says he heard everything from survivors who made it to the bridges and even showed photos of the place. That makes the girl worried, realizing it was all true. Kang says it's not like there's no way out. If they can get a boat or a raft, they might be able to cross the river somehow, but they'll have to avoid all the infected. Yina asks if Gangnam is really safe, saying that zombies are appearing all over the country, and the guy says there's no guarantee that place is secure. But his younger sister is sheltered there, and that's why he has to reach Gangnam at any cost. The girl asks if that's true. She asks how the two of them got separated, and Kang stays silent for a moment. He remembers that the day before everything started, he, his sister, and their uncle fled to the nearby temporary shelter. A little later, a military unit arrived and said they were relocating some of the survivors because Gamebook was too dangerous. but children and the elderly were the priority, so he had to stay behind. A soldier promised he would return for him. His sister called for him, and that confused him. In the end, Kang asked where exactly they were going to take his sister. The soldier said they would take her to the shelter in Gangnam. In the end, the guy says the military never came back. Ina asks about his uncle. A little after being separated from his sister, an infected person showed up inside the shelter and everything turned into chaos. He and his uncle tried to escape. Kang explains that what happened was that, in the end, his uncle couldn't make it out. All of this leaves Ina speechless. The guy stands up, grabbing a backpack, saying that either way, he's leaving as soon as the sun rises, and even a one-day delay could be dangerous. The girl asks if he's really going to leave as soon as the sun comes up. She asks him to wait and says they want to go with him since they're also trying to reach Gangnam. Kang says it's too risky, and that in his experience, traveling with more than 2 people is dangerous. Unpredictable things can happen, and at least one of them will probably die. Besides, Jong Minjin needs a full day to recover, and that recovery doesn't make much sense in all this mess. Ina begs for help, saying Minjin's mother is also in Gangnam, and that they need to get there somehow. She says that honestly, the two of them have no idea what they're doing or how to escape that place. She gets on her knees and sincerely pleads for help. The guy looks at her very calmly and says she's really changed, which confuses her. Kang says they were in the same class, but he never really knew her, and that she's nothing like the Han Yina from school. He turns away and says they'll talk more in the morning when Jong Minjin wakes up, and that she should get some rest. Ina is surprised by all of that and ends up thanking him for the help. Time passes and a new day begins. Sunlight enters a few parts of the room through the window. Our hero is still asleep while the girl sleeps on the couch next to him. At that moment, Kang calls out to the girl, waking her up. She opens her eyes and asks what he wants. He asks if when they escaped the construction site, she saw what happened to Park Seonbin. Ina says she didn't look. The girl asks why, and the guy says he's thinking about going back there quickly. That confuses her, and he says that if the scooter or the electric scooters are intact, they can use them, and there's one more thing he needs to check. Ina asks if he could just not go there, saying the barricades must have collapsed and the place is probably full of zombies, and she's sure Seonbin was infected, and that if something happens to him, this makes Kang show a small, faint smile. The young man says the place is just a few meters from where they are and asks if she wants to know how he escaped North Korea with his sister at 12 years old. It was 10,000 kilometers. That leaves Yina confused about what he's talking about. He says a broker was expensive, so they relied on an uncle who had escaped. Like ghosts, they crossed the country avoiding soldiers, passed through China and Laos, and made it to Thailand. It took almost 2 years and 10,000 kilometers for them to escape, and he lost one of his younger brothers along the way. This leaves the girl stunned. Kang says that as soon as Jong Minjin wakes up, she needs to take good care of him, and that he'll be back. After that, the guy leaves the room, leaving Yina speechless. At the construction site, still very early in the morning, Kang starts sneaking into the place by climbing over the metal barriers. He finally enters the site after jumping the flame-patterned metal fencing. The guy decides to see for himself whether Park Seonbin really lost his life or not. Our hero continues sleeping, recovering from the wound. Yina is surprised to hear him groan. Minjin sits up and she approaches, asking if he's awake, but he asks where he is. She says they're at Kang Hakyul's place and that he healed him. Our hero tries to remember who that is and asks if he's from their class. She says yes, and that they found him after escaping. Minjin says that after falling from the 2nd floor at the construction site, he can't remember what happened next, only that she helped him walk somewhere. Ina grabs his hand, saying she's so relieved, which confuses him. Her eyes start to fill with tears as she asks if he had any idea how worried she was, thinking he was going to die. That makes him blush and surprises him with what she says. Ina realizes he got embarrassed by that, and quickly smacks his hand against his own face, pushing him back and catching him off guard. She asks who told him to get stabbed with a knife, says she's thankful for the help, but also that he was careless and she doesn't know what she would have done without him. He really scared her. Minjin apologizes, but Yina asks why he's apologizing and tells him just to say thanks. She asks if he knows how hard it was to carry him, which leaves him confused. The girl blushes and turns her face away, saying Kang said he should rest for a day, so it's best for him to take it easy today and see how things go tomorrow. Our hero agrees but says Gangbuk is being sealed off and they don't have time to sit around. When he tries to stand, Minjin feels the pain from his wound, which makes Yina worried and asks if he's okay. She calls him an idiot and asks why he's trying to walk now, saying he needs to lie down. The boy accepts what she says. Time slowly passes in the room that used to be an office. Someone starts knocking on the door, surprising the pair. From the other side, Kang says it's him and asks them to let him in. Yina realizes it's Hakyul. The young man throws a backpack on the floor, making our hero curious. He asks Minjin if that's his backpack, the same one he always used at school, and is told yes, it's his. Kang says he found it on the second floor of the construction site, and inside were his clothes and personal items, so he thought he might need it. The guy also says he found a lot of emergency food and brought some with him, but Minjin is more excited about the backpack his mom gave him. He tells our hero that he also found his glasses and hands them over to him. Minjin is surprised and thanks him, while mentally he thanks God for getting them back. Our hero says Yina told him that Kang healed him. Kang confirms and asks how he's feeling, and he replies that he feels a bit dizzy but is okay. The girl asks if he checked the construction site and if he knows what happened to Park Seongbin. Kang calmly says yes, and as expected, he wasn't at the construction site. He says the only ones there were the 4 delinquent boys, now infected. Kang says the scooter is gone, probably taken by Park, and the kick scooters were broken. Yina asks if they might find him again, and Kang tells her not to worry. The guy says he might lose in a fight, but he'll win in an assassination. Yina says he's insane, but he says, as he mentioned yesterday, he's planning to escape Gangbuk, and asks the 2 of them if they think they can follow him. Our hero says yes, and that they absolutely need to go, even if it's right now, but Yina questions him and says he needs to rest at least one day. Kang agrees with her and says it's fine to wait and move after Minjin recovers a bit, but Minjin insists he's fine, and that things could get worse tomorrow. The guy says, picking up a pen, not to worry too much, and that they still need to properly plan before leaving. If they rush, they could get into trouble. He writes on a whiteboard while saying he thought it through and believes there's another way to cross the river. Yina asks how. Kang talks about line 5 and says they're going to cross using it, which confuses both of them, but Minjin realizes he's talking about the underground tunnel beneath the Han River. Yina questions it and says the subway must be full of infected since there are so many people in the city, but he says there are doors at every station and the chances are lower. However, getting into the station and past those doors is complicated. Surely many had the same idea, and the government probably blocked the tunnel, but he thinks it's worth checking out. Kang says the nearest station is in Janghan, and as they know, it's quite far on foot, and once they enter the Janghan district, things will get a lot more dangerous. The day passes and afternoon slowly falls over the city. On the board are written the survival rules, and one of them is not to be in a hurry. Kang says he made a few survival rules, and the first one is this. Since Gangbuk has been closed, they shouldn't rush or push themselves too hard. If they find a safe place, they should stay and rest and reassess the situation. Second, unless they are heading to a new area, only 1 or 2 people should go out. Avoid going out in groups of 3 or more as much as possible. In the end, Kang speaks more seriously and says that lastly, if a very serious life-threatening situation happens, you should never sacrifice yourself for someone else. He gives an example. Even if you could survive by running away, don't try to help someone at the cost of your own life, no matter who it is, even if it's him, because if such a situation happens, he will do whatever it takes to survive. Kang emphasizes this, making Minjin tense, saying they should never try to sacrifice themselves for anyone other than themselves. Time passes and a new day dawns in the city, with sunlight lighting up the office sink. Before they leave, the guy calls out to our hero, confusing him. He hands him the baseball bat full of nails and tells him to use that weapon. Minjin takes the weapon and says it's scary, and even Yina looks uneasy about that bat. Kang says it's not just for the infected. Having something like that is good to scare off bad people. Just having that weapon makes it harder for others to attack you. And as they already know, the zombies will attack to kill. When it's time to fight, they need to stay calm and hit with everything they've got. The guy says that bat with spikes can do fatal damage if it hits the head and asks if our hero understands, but he thinks it's insane. Kang then tells everyone to head outside. The district streets seem calm and safe while it's still early. The trio walks through trash-filled streets with abandoned cars. Our hero wonders if it's really okay to take the life of an infected person. They were regular people too and probably had families, and even if they attack, it's not like they truly want to. Minjin wonders if killing one of them makes him a murderer too. He questions himself, if the country's justice system is still intact, will he be labeled a criminal later? At that moment, Kang calls out to our hero. He asks if he's having unnecessary thoughts or worries and tells him to forget those kinds of thoughts, because his life is on the line, and if he wants to survive, he'll need to stay focused, and if he hesitates, he'll die instantly. Our hero tenses up but says he understands, while Yina notices something up ahead. She asks them to wait a moment, which makes Kang curious. The girl points out a path and asks if they can avoid going that way. She says she feels like there are a lot of infected over there. The guy asks how she knows that. Yina explains that she can smell it, a unique smell of rot. When a zombie is near, she smells it, and that street reeks of it. Kang is truly surprised by what the girl says. He asks if she can really sense where the infected are. Yina says it's just a feeling and not a guarantee that it's a zombie. It could just be a corpse, and if it's only 1 or 2 zombies, she only senses it they're close. Minjin remembers something, how several times the girl was strangely sensitive to that smell. Kang says he'll go take a quick look. He moves ahead and hides behind a pole as he looks down the street. The guy is genuinely surprised by what he sees there. Lots of zombies walking near a darker area between a van and a transport truck. That makes Kang realize the girl's importance goes beyond what he expected. He wonders if she really can sense the infected, and the girl asks if the zombies were really there and if she was right. The young man says she was right and that he doesn't think they can go that way. Minjin looks to the side and asks them to look too. Kang looks but asks what our hero is seeing. He says that on the rooftop of a building, he thinks there are soldiers and asks if they're infected. This surprises and confuses the northerner. Kang starts moving forward and tells the pair to follow him, catching them both off guard. The group heads to a more secluded area. Inside the building, the guy says it's all right because there are no infected around and they can follow him. Ina shows fatigue and asks why they're there. Kang pulls out binoculars and looks in the direction Minjin pointed to earlier. He says he can see at least 3 soldiers and that they're all infected, but one of them is carrying a rifle, and this surprises the pair. Minjin becomes tense, not believing it, and asks if Kang is thinking of taking that weapon and if they shouldn't just leave. He says that if there are more than 3 zombies, it'll be difficult to steal it, and they haven't even confirmed if it has ammo. Even if they get it, firing will make a lot of noise and attract zombies, and they don't even know how to use that rifle, but Kang says he knows how to shoot. That's a weapon they absolutely need, and he tells them to go get it. Yena questions what he's saying, pointing out our hero just explained everything. She also asks how they're going to get the weapon from 3 zombies in such a tight space, and that he said the rifle is strapped to the soldier's body, and to get the weapon they'll have to. She finishes by saying they'll have no choice but to execute the infected soldier. Minjin feels like something has been bothering him this whole time. He remembers the days he used to play Rage Z in his room, where he used an assault rifle to shoot zombies, and that constant discomfort is clinging to his heart. If that's the case, then one day they'll desperately need that weapon. Our hero agrees to go get the rifle, and Yena is confused by that. She asks if they're crazy, saying it looks dangerous to go up there, and she has no idea how they'll deal with those zombies. Kang says then they'll go alone and she can wait there. The girl gets tense about that, and stammering with fear, she says then she'll help too and asks Kang what she should do. He says it looks tight up there and going together will be dangerous. It's better if she stays hidden there and asks if she can guard the backpacks. She says being alone is scary. The daytime sun remains in the sky, but the buildings create dark zones across the district. An infected woman walks beneath one of the buildings growling. Kang begins sneaking through the area, trying not to make any noise. The guy tells our hero they'll grab the railing and climb up that way, asking if he's okay. He replies that he is. He asks Minjin if he's not afraid of zombies and points out that he didn't even hesitate to come this far. Minjin says more than anything, he's a little nervous. The building has 3 floors plus the ground level and the rooftop, where the rifle and the soldier are. The pair manage to reach the entrance of the upper floor. Kang peeks stealthily from behind the barricade. He sees that the armed infected is farther back behind the other 2. The guy says that as expected, there are 3 soldiers, but they're all close to each other and it'll be hard to take them out silently. Minjin says he understands. Our hero says he heard from Yena that Kang knows how to throw knives and asks if he plans to use one. But Kang says that alone won't be enough to kill them instantly. He says they'll finish this in 10 seconds. Minjin tenses up and asks if that's true. Our hero asks how they'll do it that quickly. Kang says he can't do it alone and that he'll need his help. The guy explains that he'll attack first and take out the one closest to him, then asks if it's true the other 2 will go after him. And he says he'll need Minjin to take out one of the others using that bat. That surprises Minjin. Our hero questions, what if something goes wrong? But Kang says just take out one of them and don't get bitten. He asks if Minjin can do that, and our hero says he'll try. Kang stands up and calls out to Minjin seriously. The guy tells our hero that he understands what's bothering him and that he feels it too, but right now, at this very moment, survival comes first, and they need to do something if they want to live. Minjin knows he's right, and after what happened with that guy on the rooftop, he truly understood that they're no longer human. The 3 zombies remain motionless in place. Kang climbs onto the shelf used as a barricade, and jumps off it, finally stepping out from behind the protection he had. At the same moment, the 3 infected notice him and scream at the guy. Without fear, Kang charges toward the zombies with his pocket knife in hand. He knows that if he wants to end it, it has to be with one strike. He needs to go for a clean and direct attack. One of the infected stumbles over its own leg while running. Kang goes for an instant execution, but the zombie's stumble causes him to miss the attack. That leaves the guy surprised and tense. He curses when he realizes he left his guard open as a second infected charges at him. Kang knows he has to take down at least one of them with a single strike. The guy makes a fast slash at the infected, but realizes he didn't land the hit properly. At that moment, the armed zombie approaches, catching him off guard. Kang shouts, calling out to our hero, who, tense, comes up behind one of the infected and raises the spiked bat. Minjin quickly delivers a powerful blow to the undead. It knocks the zombie to the ground, leaving our hero confused. But the infected gets up quickly and turns toward Minjin, who screams in fear when he realizes he didn't finish it off. Our hero yells, telling the zombie to back off, and that makes Kang realize that wasn't nearly enough. A second zombie charges at the boy, while the armed one tries to bite Kang, who manages to block the bite with his arm, but he knows he has to take down the one with the rifle first. Quickly, the guy performs an upward slash. The blow lands solidly on the undead, but it knocks both of them to the ground and disarms Kang. He curses when he notices the pocket knife fell far from him. The second infected takes advantage of the moment and approaches the guy. Kang knows one of the zombies is holding Minjin while the other is attacking him, and at that moment he realizes all he can do is pray, that there are at least 2 bullets in the military rifle. Kang unlocks and cocks the weapon as fast as possible. He places the barrel of the rifle directly on the zombie and fires. Meanwhile, Minjin stares at the monster and wonders how that infected can be so strong. Desperate, he calls out for Hakiel. Kang managed to defeat the 2 zombies while our hero screams from the attack. The guy tells Minjin that, for a rookie, he's brave. Calmer now, the boy aims the weapon at the infected still standing, and fires a shot. Yena becomes tense and surprised when she hears the gunshot while hiding inside the building. She wonders if those were 2 gunshots and says to herself that they were insanely loud. The girl uses the binoculars to see what's happening and prays that they're okay. She sees them both standing and feels relieved to see that they're safe. Our hero apologizes for not helping much, but Kang thanks him, saying they survived because he distracted one of them, though they'll practice more with the bat later. Minjin says he was amazing, especially from that position, and asks if he's shot before. The guy says yes, and that he was lucky not to hit him because he used his left hand. Kang looks at the magazine, wondering how many rounds are left. He counts them one by one, but our hero notices something. Minjin hears the sound of the infected and warns that he thinks he heard zombies approaching the area. The guy says the gunshots must have drawn them there. Kang tells them to hurry and asks our hero if he can check over there for more ammo. Minjin says yes, still in the safe building, far from the chaos. Yena keeps looking through the binoculars and notices it's been a while since she saw the 2 guys, and she wonders if they already came down. She thinks maybe she could go down to the first floor to wait for them, but then a growl comes from outside. The girl looks out the window to see what's happening, and realizes the infected are heading toward the building where the 2 boys are. Yena understands this means she can't go down now and wonders if she's going to have to wait there, and more importantly, if they'll be able to make it back safely. The girl notices something that surprises her. One of the zombies is staring directly at her. The infected suddenly smiles at Yena, and that scares her. She quickly crouches down and covers her mouth to avoid making any sound. The girl wonders if the infected really looked straight at her and smiled. A noise begins to echo from the dark stairwell of the building. After a louder sound, everything falls into complete silence. The sound of the infected echoes through the dark flights of stairs. In the end, the zombie appears on the stairs, letting out growls. But Yena is no longer near the window. She hides, thinking that it's impossible. The girl is sure she locked the entrance on the first floor before going up, and remembers blocking it with nearby objects. The infected keeps growling, making Yena wonder fearfully if he somehow managed to get in. She asks herself how this could happen and how a zombie could behave that way. The girl hears the infected sounds and realizes he's getting closer to her. The undead slowly climbs the stairs and approaches the floor where Yena is. With slow steps and in the middle of grunts, the zombie finishes climbing the stairs. In the end, he stops in front of the window where the girl was, while she tries to hide, sitting behind some boxes without making a sound. The infected stands still, staring at that spot, until he turns toward Yena and shows a smile. Slowly, the zombie starts approaching the place where she is. The young girl keeps her eyes shut, trying to hide as best she can. But as soon as Yena opens her eyes to see what's happening, she comes face to face with the zombie, who smiles at her, and she screams in pure fear and terror. However, a loud gunshot echoes through the hallway of the building as the infected is thrown to the side. The girl begins to cry from the fear of almost being caught. Kang approaches with our hero, asking if she's okay. After that, the group regathers. Yena tells them what happened, and the guy asks if it's true that the infected smiled at her. She says it was like looking at a normal person, and one day a pervert found her and it felt just as creepy. Kang says that thing was infected. The girl is sure she locked and blocked the entrance, but didn't do it properly because she was in a rush to get back. Still, there were many things in front of it, and the door was broken. Kang says it's as if someone not infected did that on purpose, but as far as he knows, zombies only know how to attack, and that shouldn't be possible. He asks if the zombie had emotions or other instincts. Yena says that's impossible. Our hero says it's just a theory, but some of the infected might be special or are gradually evolving, and that makes Kang curious. Minjin says that in the future they might climb stairs and jump, maybe even zombies capable of strategizing to hunt survivors, and perhaps some physically evolved ones might appear. They'd be dumb, but with maximized attack instincts. That makes Kang ask how he knows this. Our hero says it's just a hunch, not a certainty, and that they'll probably think what he's about to say is ridiculous. But the infected are similar to the ones he saw in a game he used to play. He was obsessed with that game, so it might just be his imagination. Kang looks a bit thoughtful as silence takes over, and then he says that sounds a bit ridiculous. Yina laughs and asks if he's saying they entered a game. Minjin agrees that it's impossible and asks them to forget it. However, the North Korean says it's true that this is the worst pandemic in human history, and they need to survive it. Minjin says the guy got dirty from the infected, and asks if he won't get infected. But Kang says it's not the first time and he's fine. The infection spreads through bites. The guy says the rifle has only 15 rounds, and there are 2 military daggers. He says he still has the pocket knife he used, so our hero should take one of the daggers and the other. He hands to Yina, saying she has to use it, which confuses the girl. She asks if he wants her to keep that knife. Kang says she needs to protect herself and asks if she's going to call for help every time that happens again, and that later, both of them will need to learn how to use the rifle with him. The guy says that if he dies, our hero has to use that weapon, and there will be a time when Yina will have to use it too. That makes the place fall silent under the weight of those words. The girl asks the guy not to say things like that because it brings bad luck, and Minjin says people who say that always die first. It's a movie cliche he's following, but Kang is confused. He asks what they mean by that, and says he's going to survive no matter what, but he just needs to be prepared in case that kind of situation happens. Minjin says he's right and mentions he's always wanted to shoot a gun, though they probably can't practice target shooting because of the noise, and the ammo is limited. Our hero asks if Yina also wants to be able to shoot a real gun, but she turns her face away, and quickly distances herself from him. She replies that she's not sure if she wants that, but Minjin is confused by her response. Yina asks him not to come near her. Our hero doesn't understand and asks what's wrong. The girl replies that she just doesn't want him near her right now. Minjin still doesn't get it and wonders what's going on since she suddenly started acting strange. He asks if he did something wrong and says that's always how he acted with her at school, but she complains in her mind that he's an idiot with no common sense. Yina keeps avoiding our hero without looking at him. The girl is getting irritated because she hasn't been able to bathe in days, and that's making her uncomfortable. She begs him not to say she smells bad, but then she calls herself an idiot for caring about that when survival is the priority and wonders if she would still care in an even worse situation. She looks at him and honestly, none of that really matters because, at this moment, she simply doesn't want to be next to Minjin. Yina wonders when she started caring so much about our hero like this. That makes the girl hug her knees, blushing, finding the whole thing irritating. The next day, under the morning sunlight, the brutal reality still exists, where a van with an open door shows signs of an attack. The group continues walking through the city streets. Kang asks Yina if she thinks that place is okay. She says there might be 2 or 3 of them around, but she's not sure about inside the houses. Minjin comments that thanks to her, it feels easier, and now they can really move more freely. The North Korean says they can't let their guard down. Our hero notices the guy's strange movement and asks if he's okay since he's been limping since earlier. Kang says he thinks he hurt himself when he fell with the infected soldier. He says it seems like a ligament injury, which shocks Minjin. Our hero, concerned, asks if he shouldn't be resting and reminds him that he told them not to move if they were injured. Kang thought he'd be fine by now. The guy says it's nothing, and compared to when he defected, this really is nothing. He says it's time to start looking for a place to sleep. Yina stops in front of a metal door with a red X. Kang asks what's wrong, and she says there's something inside. Something lets out a loud growl from inside the place while something slams into the door, scaring the girl, who asks if there's an infected in there. A voice from the top of the building asks if they're survivors, making the trio look up. A man says he's been trapped on the rooftop for 2 days and asks the group for help. Kang asks how he ended up there. The survivor says he went to grab a few things and was chased by zombies and had to run to the rooftop. The man says there are infected on the stairways right now and that he can't do anything in this situation. But the guy asks who closed the door on the first floor. He says he asked a passing survivor, but that person closed it after saying there were zombies inside and left. Kang asks if there are many infected on the stairway too, and the man says there were 6 or 7 chasing him. That surprises our hero because of the number. The North Korean understands that if there are zombies inside, then it's true the man is isolated on the rooftop, but the number he mentioned is odd, and if it really is accurate. Kang apologizes and says that with that many infected, it's going to be difficult, and they're not in a position to help anyone right now. He turns around, telling them to leave. Minjin is surprised, and the man begs them not to go. The survivor pleads for help. He says he couldn't make it back home, and his wife and son are waiting for him alone. His daughter is missing, and if he doesn't return, the worst might happen. He starts shouting to be saved. Minjin says that if he keeps screaming, he'll attract more infected. Yina asks if it's right to abandon him, and Kang says they can't help others right now. It's better not to take unnecessary risks and tells them to go already. That leaves our hero shocked and in disbelief. In the end, he asks if there isn't another way to help that person. Kang stops when he hears that and says nothing, but after complaining a little with a sigh, the guy turns to our hero, who asks what the method is. Minjin says he just had a good idea and believes he can save that person. The trio returns to the abandoned white van. Kang asks if, after opening the door, they're going to lure the infected to the place they just passed by, and then take out those 6 or 7 zombies outside the tunnel, then run back here, and at that moment, push the white van to block the tunnel. Minjin says yes, and that he might not look like it now, but when he was a kid, he once pushed a car in neutral with his father. That makes him say he thinks they can push that vehicle far enough, and since Kang's leg isn't good, he'll be the one to lure the infected out of the tunnel, and then come back. And once he returns, the 2 of them should push the car and block the area. This catches them both off guard. Kang says that if they don't create enough distance, they'll fail, and asks if he's a good runner. Minjin replies that he's above average and should be fine, though he's afraid of being chased. The North Korean looks at the tunnel and says that since only one person can pass through at a time there, if they block it from that side, the infected won't be able to get in. The car doors open, and the handbrake seems to be released. But then he asks our hero why he's going so far for that man, and says he already told him not to sacrifice himself for others, which leads him to ask what Minjin stands to gain by risking their lives to save that guy. Yena says that now that she's heard all that, she also thinks it sounds way too dangerous, and they don't even know if that man is a good person or not. Our hero stays silent upon hearing all that. He remembers those men at the construction site, the moment he gave them the pork for lunch, the surprised expression on one of their faces. Minjin says he just feels, somehow, that that guy isn't a bad person. He remembers those men who lost their lives at the construction site, and somehow it reminds him of his father. Kang looks at him without saying another word, but in the end he says to try pushing the car forward, just a bit, so that with a small push it can immediately block the space, and everyone agrees. Meanwhile, time slowly passes. Kang asks if he just needs to turn the steering wheel slightly and tells him to try pushing a bit more. Minjin asks Sienna if she's ready and starts counting. When he reaches 3, both of them push, and the van seems to move. They notice that it's shifting. Kang guides the vehicle using the steering wheel, while the pair slowly push the car forward. As they near the tunnel, the North Korean asks if that's already enough. He says that to be ready for emergencies, he's going to hide there and get ready to shoot. Minjin tells him to only use the gun in the worst-case scenario. Yena asks what if an infected attacks as soon as he opens the door or if they're too scattered. He says he'll ask the man to draw them all in, and then he'll lure them all together. At that moment, Kang calls out to our hero. He asks Minjin if he knows this is a really dangerous plan. Kang says that if there's a special infected like he mentioned, there's no telling what might happen. Our hero says that guy wouldn't be trapped in there, and that he'll be fine. The North Korean says he wouldn't risk his life for anyone except his sister, and that this will be the last time he does something like this. He says that from now on, they shouldn't take such risks again. Minjin becomes tense hearing all of that. After a while, on the abandoned and cluttered street, the door to the building is open, indicating that the plan is in motion. Minjin starts shouting, calling the infected from the area over to him. After that, our hero starts running away from the place. After going down the stairs, he turns and runs toward the van. Several infected chase after him as he screams in fear. Minjin keeps drawing the zombies' attention, telling them to try and catch him. Kang watches everything from the hiding spot while our hero starts passing by the van, and the infected scream behind him. One by one, the zombies move through the area. After they pass, the guy says it's time, and both of them come out of hiding. There's no movement coming from the other side of the tunnel. The girl waits for the signal while Kang keeps watching to see when our hero will show up. Yena is tense about the situation. She's worried about Minjin and asks for him to come back. Time passes with no sign of our hero, until a loud scream from the infected is heard from the other side of the tunnel. At that moment, Minjin appears running away. He shouts the signal to push the van now, and as soon as he passes, the pair starts pushing the vehicle, until finally the car blocks the passage, causing the infected to slowly pile up in the area. They groan, trying to get through without success, while Minjin catches his breath from the run, saying they did it, and Yena congratulates him. At that moment, that man thanks our hero, which surprises him when he sees the man on his knees on the ground, sincerely thanking him. The man bows to the ground, saying Minjin is his savior, but our hero tells him not to do that there. He asks if they can go to a safe place first. Meanwhile, Kang watches everything without saying a word. In a place far from that tunnel, possibly an abandoned restaurant, Our hero asks, upon seeing the man's backpack, how many gas canisters he has, and the man says his house has water and electricity, only the gas was cut off. Luckily, he lives near the restaurant district, so he has food, and he was looking for a portable stove. Minjin asks about electricity, and he says he has solar panels. Kang says that as long as he can get food, there won't be a problem surviving, and asks if there's anything else to worry about there. The man says he also went out to look for his daughter. In the end, the survivor asks where the group is heading. Minjin tells him to speak casually since they're much younger than him, but the survivor says no, because he is his savior, and that makes our hero say he can do as he likes. Minjin believes he's a good person, and Yina asks if he heard that Gangbuk is being closed off and says they're trying to escape. That makes him ask if they'll be okay. She says that earlier he mentioned not knowing where his daughter is. The man says the last contact with her was on the day everything started. She said she was going home. He says he drove out to look for her, but the car got stuck and he barely survived. He knows he should have evacuated the family first, but the situation was severe. In the end, they argued and decided to stay together. He knows the chances are low, but maybe his daughter will come back home. Yina understands that he needs to find his daughter. The man asks where they found that rifle, and Kang says he found it dropped in the street. After that, the survivor says it's getting late and asks where they'll sleep, but the guy says they'll find a place and that he can just break into a nearby location. Still, the man asks if they want to stay at his house, which is nearby and has plenty of space. It also has electricity, water, and food. That excites the pair. Kang asks if it's true and says he'll be grateful if he lets them stay there. Yina asks if it's really okay, and the guy says yes. Minjin says that if Hakiel says it's okay, then there's no problem, and the girl agrees with him. Our hero asks if the man has more things to carry, and if he wants help. He says he does, but tells them not to push themselves too hard. Time passes, and little by little, the day starts heading toward the afternoon. After walking a bit more, the man says they've arrived, and Minjin is surprised by what he sees. A large, single-family home. It really does have solar panels too. Kang notices the thick walls and the iron gate. The guy also sees that barbed wire was installed on top of the walls, and with running water, it's practically a perfect safe house. Even so, he carries the rifle in front of everyone. The man asks why he's doing that, and Kang says they've seen too many crazy people, and asks him to understand that, for them, they're entering a strange place. And if he looks closely at his friends, he'll understand they're not thieves, so there's no need to worry. That makes the man tense and smile awkwardly. In the end, the survivor opens the gate, calling for his wife and saying he's back. Meanwhile, at a place with a work company sign, there's a small abandoned office. Someone starts fiddling with the door, trying to open it. When he can't get it open, the survivor kicks it in. He curses, holding a kitchen knife in hand, complaining that he barely made it out of another critical situation alive. He asks why there are so many others like him instead of zombies, and says he thinks he's taken out more humans than infected. What he really needs, there is a bomb to wipe them all out. The guy sits on a couch and asks why that place feels so comfortable, deciding to rest there for a while. He notices the whiteboard with lots of things written on it, and becomes curious about what's on it. After reading what's written, the man smiles and starts laughing. In the end, he asks if those two were recently hiding there, and if they even ran into Kang Hakyul. Songbin, still alive, realizes they're planning to head to the station in Janghan and intend to cross the Han River using Line 5. The group begins to enter the survivor's house, following him. Upon entering, the man who was rescued calls out for his son and wife, saying that he's home. Kang asks our hero to wait a moment. He says he'll go into the house first. Minjin is confused for a moment but quickly understands. The survivor keeps calling for his beloved wife, but the guy suspects they might be getting tricked. He quickly enters the house with his weapon ready, knowing that if anything goes wrong, they might have to take over the place. But Kang is surprised by what he sees and hears. The man's wife and child respond. The woman asks what happened for him to be so late, and says they thought they'd lost him. The boy cries while the survivor apologizes, hugging his son. The young North Korean watches all of it while the man continues apologizing to his family. At that moment, our hero enters the house. The survivor introduces Minjin as the one who saved him, and the other two as his friends. That makes the wife thank him, but Minjin says there's no need for thanks. In the living room, the lights illuminate the space. Mun Jae-in smiles and says she'll make dinner, asking them to feel comfortable, and mentions they have water so they can take a bath. Yina is surprised and asks if she really can take a bath. The woman cheerfully says yes. Mun Jae-in holds the young girl's hand and asks how old she is, why she's so beautiful, and why she's risking herself at night being so lovely. That leaves the girl confused. The woman says she could be a celebrity with how stunning she is. Yina gets flustered from the compliments and thanks her, saying Mun Jae-in is very beautiful too. But at that moment, the smile fades from the woman's face. She says, with a hint of sadness, that her daughter is the same age as Yina, and that she had just started college this year, but went missing a few days ago. The girl says she's heard something like that before. Iena tells Mun Jae-in that her daughter is definitely still alive. The housewife thanks her and says she shouldn't have brought it up, then asks them to rest while she prepares dinner. The young girl quickly offers to help, but the woman refuses, saying they saved her husband, and since Iena is the same size as her daughter, she can wear her daughter's clothes. Minjin looks to the side and notices the boy hiding behind a piece of furniture, staring at him fearfully. When he realizes he's been seen, the child quickly runs to the second floor. Our hero wonders if that's the couple's son and notes he looks like he's around elementary school age. Kang sits on the couch, still holding the rifle, and our hero asks how his foot is. The guy removes his sock, showing swelling on his ankle. That makes Minjin ask if he's crazy, pointing out how swollen it is. Kang replies that if possible, it'd be good for them to rest there a little longer, but for safety, they should check every corner of the house. That makes Minjin comment that Kang really is meticulous about security, and that experience really does make a difference. Behind one of the doors, the sound of the shower can be heard. Iena takes a shower while saying it had been so long since she bathed, and she thought she was going to die from how uncomfortable it was. But the girl stops speaking and moving, becoming lost in thought. She remembers when she hid with Kang while Minjin was fleeing from the zombies during the rescue plan, and the determined look on his face, intent on succeeding. That makes Iena wonder why he was trying to look so cool in such a weird way, and she finds it really annoying. She keeps complaining about our hero, saying she didn't think he was like that, but he was actually pretty cool, and if he does that again, she's going to have to stop him. The pendulum clock in the room marks the slowly passing hours. Several bowls are placed on the table filled with delicious food, making someone say they're going to eat really well. Mun Jae-in tells the trio to eat as much as they can, which excites Minjin, and he asks how long it's been since he had a proper meal like that. The homeowner says he heard they're trying to escape to Gangnam, and asks if they know all the roads and bridges have been closed and how they actually plan to cross the river. Kang says he's thinking of using Line 5 of the underground tunnel, and if the area hasn't been blocked, then he believes it's possible to cross, but the man has a question about that. The survivor says if it's really Line 5, that leaves the guy confused. But CJ-hun reveals that his last contact with his daughter was at Gwangan Station, exactly on Line 5. This makes Kang ask if that's true. The guy knows that station is at the end of Line 5 along the Han River, and that it's about 6 to 7 stops after the nearest station, which is Janghan, the group's final destination, right after crossing the river. Kang says their destination is Gwangan Station and then to head to Gwangan-ru using the subway. If his daughter is alive, she should be around there, and that surprises Seo Ja-hun. The survivor says he thought the same thing. He says he was driving to find his daughter and heading to Gwangan Station, but got stranded, so he abandoned the car and walked to Jangin Station. Seo Jae-hun reveals that the station was completely overrun by the infected, and that walking to Gwangan is really far, and he can't go alone and leave his family behind. That's why he's stuck in the house, unable to do anything. Kang says the place is about 10 kilometers from where they are and asks if there are other nearby roads that are too damaged to drive through. Jae-hun says he doesn't know all of them, but almost all are blocked by stalled cars or obstacles, making them hard to travel on properly, and if the car gets stranded, it will be very dangerous. Kang becomes thoughtful, wondering if traveling by car is really impossible. Yena says they haven't introduced themselves yet, and Jae-hun says he realizes it's already late to do that. He says he's a university professor, surprising the girl. They all decide to introduce themselves to each other, and in the end, everyone laughs a little. Night begins to fall over the city, but the lights on the house's first floor remain on. In a tidy room with air conditioning and paintings on the wall, Mun Jae-in says that room belongs to her daughter and asks if they'd like to share it, and that her son can sleep in her room. Minjin says he and Kang will sleep in the living room. The woman says that at least Yena should sleep comfortably there since she hasn't had a proper night's sleep in days. That makes the girl look at our hero, and she replies that it's fine. She'll also sleep in the living room with her friends, which confuses Minjin. He tells her to sleep comfortably in the bed, that she really hasn't been sleeping well for a few days, but the girl replies that she's fine. Our hero asks why, and if it wouldn't be more comfortable to sleep alone, since earlier she didn't want to be near him. Minjin thinks she's afraid of sleeping alone and says it's okay if she wants to, but that makes Yena start hitting him. The girl walks off, saying he's so annoying and that she really wants to beat him up, leaving our hero confused by her mood swing. Time passes and night finally falls over the infected city, but the lights on the first floor remain on. With exhaustion setting in, the three begin wishing each other good night. Minjin asks if Kang checked the house, He says he thinks it's safe because he didn't find anything suspicious, but Minjin doubts that since he's still keeping the gun with him even while sleeping. Time passes, and it's already 10:30 at night. The only light in the room is from a lamp as the trio sleeps wrapped in blankets. Ina sleeps peacefully on the floor until she opens her eyes with a thoughtful expression. The young girl turns and asks our hero if he's asleep. He replies that it seems like Kang is sleeping, but he hasn't fallen asleep yet. That makes Yina get out from under her blanket and stand up. She sits down, looking at Minjin, and says he looks tired and asks why he's not sleeping. If that's the case, then maybe they could talk. The girl asks our hero what he's thinking about. Minjin looks up at the ceiling and says he's thinking about his mother. He wonders if she's okay now. If nothing happened to her, she's probably very worried right now, and seeing that family made him think of her. That leaves Yina speechless for a while, just watching him. In the end, the young girl says she'll help him find his mother. Our hero turns to look at Yina, but then he turns his back to her again and thanks her for that. Still, Minjin sits up, surprising the girl. He asks her again, just because he's curious, about her parents and if she still doesn't know where they are. Our hero asks if she's really okay, since after all, they are her parents, and that makes Yina show a thoughtful look on the matter. She says she can tell him, and our hero is confused by that. The girl says she's never told anyone this before about her parents.
Our video ends here. If you enjoyed it, please like and subscribe to the channel. Until next time, bye bye.